My name is David, popularly known as Nameless, and I'm happy to say today is my graduation from Centonomy Entrepreneurship class. I won't even go into how I got into class. I'll just go into my experience in the class. I've been in the industry for almost 20 years, and I've done my thing. I've done some good and bad things along the way, and I didn't realize that until I came into Centonomy Entrepreneurship class. You see, for us creatives, we're normally pushed by our passion, and our gifts, and I've always thought I'm quite strategic in the show business, but also when I came to the class, one thing that stood out for me, I think it was the second class where we're talking about fear and vision. And that's when I knew, okay, this is a prayer answered, where there are many things I would question about my career, and looking at, I think I'm midlife right now. I'm midlife and I'm thinking, where do I want to go from here? How do I want to expand? How do I want to grow? So when I got into the class, I was surprised that the answers that were coming in class were really answering many of the questions I had. I think what I would say, especially to the creatives out there, is I always say it's all about talent, discipline, and strategy. And what entrepreneurship class feeds onto is the strategic arm of the business and entertainment business. One thing that stood out for me, I would say, is I realized that throughout my career, yes, I was, entertaining, I was loving what I was doing, but I realized there are many other opportunities I wasn't really taking. And I guess that's what we call entrepreneurship mindset. Yeah, I think we always have room to grow. We always have to get knowledge from people who've been there, who've learned from mistakes. I also have learned from mistakes. It's always better to learn from people who've been ahead of you, who have strengths in places you think you may have weaknesses in. So for me, as I graduate today, I'm just want to first say big up to Centonomy for an amazing program. And to my fellow creatives out there, I recommend doing this course. It's not as crazy as I thought when I was thinking of coming to class. Flexible hours once a week. The teachings are very practical. That's what I liked about it also. You're taught by people who are in the industry, who are what you'd say are experts in different fields. So for me, I recommend it to any creative to come and add on to that arm, the strategic side of it, so that you really do earn from your talents, your gifts, or your passions.
My name is Gichuhi. I just finished the Centonomy Entrepreneur course. I learned quite a lot from my experience here. I think it was quite an amazing thing to just have this course in the beginning of my entrepreneurship career. I'm just starting out my business in the next few months, so I think now I'm equipped with the tools that I need to be able to just start my business on the right foot and with the right tools. There were so many amazing classes. In every single class I learned something new every single time that I came to Centonomy. All of the instructors were more than happy to answer any questions that I had, and I found that people who were in 5 years in their business or just 1 year in their business or even less, no matter the amount of time that they've been in business, they found the course very helpful for no matter what it is that they wanted to do. It was also amazing to be in a space with other entrepreneurs who are going through the same journey as me. So whatever questions that I had, even just being able to explain my struggles or the things that I'm going through, my fears, what visions I had with other people who were like-minded, was an amazing opportunity, and it really helped me grow to become the entrepreneur that I am today. I think one of the most important lessons that I learned in the Centonomy Entrepreneurship course is that there's such an importance of vision. You have to have a vision for your business in order to be able to understand what next logical steps you need to take within the business. So I think that was one of the main takeaways that I got from this whole experience. Overall, it was amazing. I would highly recommend it to anyone who's even just starting out in their entrepreneurship journey, to just even have a direction with which to go and with which to take your business.
Hi, hello. My name is Lona Moyo, popularly known as Mama Kebobo online. My experience was, it has transitioned from ugly conversations with myself to that moment when you feel like, wow, I've really been doing things in a very not planned kind of manner, and to now feeling sad that the program is over. So it's been quite a journey. I like to refer back to the class we did on fear and vision, because I think for me that has been that class that really changed a lot of things I was doing. And it was basically about your fears in the business space. What are you afraid of? Why aren't you really reaching your full potential? And how to get out of that space. And in doing that, I've been able to finally release my new spice called Jasiri. If you've not tasted Jasiri, kindly do. And it came from that moment of realizing, what am I afraid of? And how can I change that? And one of the biggest fears I've had all along is just feeling like I'm not good enough to bring something new, good enough to do something that has not been done before, good enough to bring change in the food space. And after that class, I had a very important conversation with myself over a period. And now I feel like I'm ready to conquer the world. After the fear class, I have now started releasing my new blends and mixes. Again, I also learned the structure class, how to structure my business properly, to look good for investors, to look good even for me. And I've started implementing that. Now I have a structure. And also there was the class about how to distance yourself from your business so that you are not the business. And I feel like that class has been so instrumental to me because I've been able to declutter a lot. I used to think I have to be there for every step of the business. And I've learned that there's so much that I can delegate and just free up a lot of time to be able to do other things. Like, for example, right now I'm here and my business is still going on. And I think that's something I want to carry for the rest of my life. Like, I don't have to be there for the business to grow. I feel like if you're in business and you haven't attended this class, you are really doing an injustice to your business, because there's so much to learn. You could be making money and thinking you're making money, but there's a lot of background information that you're missing out on. I think every single business, whether you're running a kiosk or a corporate, if you have a big dream for your business, this is a must-do class. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm going to demand you do it, because if you don't, then you're going to be stuck in the same space you're in 5 years down the line, thinking your business is growing and wondering why others have transitioned to just being sole proprietorships to, big businesses, multi-billion businesses and all that. So if you're ready to make that transition, this is the class to join. My name is Benjamin Webby. I am a singer-songwriter, a recording and live performing artist. And I am just about graduating from Centonomy Entrepreneur. You can actually get to know a little bit about me and my music on webbymusic.com. You can get in touch, you can stream my music, you can download it, you can watch my videos, whatever you need, it's all there. But first, let me tell you a little bit about how I got to knowing about Centonomy Entrepreneur, which is the class that I'm graduating from. My wife had joined initially and done Centonomy 101, and it was an amazing class for her. She learned a great deal. And during the time when she was in the process of learning, she'd come home and share with me and tell me everything about what they were taking out of the classes. And she was a hard act to follow because I wasn't in the classes. It got to the point where I realized it would be very important, very helpful if I would enroll for a class myself and experience it for myself, which is what I did. And I registered for this class. And it's been an amazing experience, the best investment I've made with my money so far. And I've loved it. I've loved also the people that I've met, the experience of learning together with them and growing from one place to another. And it has impacted my business as an artist. One of the things that came out very strongly for me during the class was being able to define a vision for what it is that I do. In the context of just understanding that everything that we do and everything we're about has to have a bigger picture. Webby Music now basically runs independently.
I decided to separate my money, which is another thing that came out for me in the class, separating personal finances from business finance and being able to account for all of that, being able to understand how to allocate it, and that if I need to allocate it, I need to allocate it to the things that are helping me to cultivate or to grow my business and to push it forward. I've enjoyed this class immensely because there have been so many other things in the course of 11 weeks that have been taught to us, that we've had conversations around, and has helped me to see things from a very different perspective, a perspective that I didn't have before. Now I can legitimately create that legacy because there's structure, there's a destination, and I've also decided that there are a couple of things that are important for me to achieve, and those things are now what I'm focusing all of my energy on. So once again, I really appreciate having had the opportunity to do this class. It's definitely changed my life, my perspective, and it has enriched the conversations that my wife and I have, because now we're able to read from the same script, which is a very important thing, given that this also affects all of our futuristic plans as a couple, and also in context of thinking about how this is going to affect our children. For every single person out there who hasn't done this course, I would strongly encourage that you do, because this is definitely going to change your perspective. It's going to get you to look at your business or your business idea very differently. It's going to give you the impetus to take the step of courage to starting something, the one thing that you've been thinking in your mind you want to do and have never gotten around to doing or are afraid of doing. There's a method to the madness, and here's the method. Your madness has a method to it, and it'll be amazing to see what comes out of every single thing.
My name is Khidher. I am the owner and creative director of EDLAs, where we sell happiness, and I like saying happiness because I'm sure most of you can relate. If you look good, how do you end up feeling? Good. You feel good. So we do sell happiness, but in the form of fabric. And as a result of that, individuals, celebrants, or designers have an amazing experience. They create amazing memories to the storied gowns or storied designs that they create with our fabric. So if you know anyone, shameless plug, you see me after the class for the fabric. So I'm just going to share two things that were very impactful for me in this 12 weeks that we were here. And one of them being the entrepreneurial mind shift. Just ignore the nervous voice. Focus. So when I came here, and first of all, let me start by saying I'm an 844 kid. So the teachers that used to teach me used to use shame as a motivator, which was rubbish, because then that would do the opposite of the thing they were supposed to do. So when I decided to join Centonomy, I can be very honest, I was nervous, I was apprehensive, because that little speech I just gave now about my business, it's very true, that's what happens, but the behind the scenes was in complete shambles. I was just walking around in pseudo-confidence, and my business wasn't doing good. So when I came, I thought the first thing they would do is, like 844 teachers, shame me with my mistakes, with my failures. But the first lesson that Waithaka taught us was, your current situation has got nothing to do with your future destination or final destination. And my final destination, just like Waithaka was talking about, was to grow Africa as a whole. So I intend to be among the to be on the African luxury landscape. But what was my current situation? Shambles. They didn't even look like they were related. But after the class, I learned that, we can still grow, we can still learn. In fact, I'm in the right place because all the examples they were using were their own failures. So okay, I don't need to be nervous. I can learn, I can share my failures. The students I was with were also sharing their own stories, so it was fantastic. And then the second, or was a big takeaway for me, was the big opportunity. So every time I used to hear niche market, all I used to think was, I have to really narrow it down, I have to really focus. I found that I wasn't flexible. And on the other hand, I was thinking of how I can raise funds for my business. So on one hand, I'm rejecting money because my clients or my target clients were high net worth women who can afford fabric that is above $100. But here I was constantly saying no to people who can afford fabric that is less, but then going home and saying, I need fans. And there were other opportunities that I was not seeing. we were taught, I think it was in the big opportunity class, we were shown the gorilla video. You guys remember that? And true to that, I was that student. I didn't see anything else in that video, just the gorilla. Just like how I was seeing my clients. This is the client I want, I'm going to ignore everybody else. It wasn't like an arrogant thing. It's just, you think, let me focus, let me just stick to what I know, let me not mix it up. But it was killing me at the end, it was killing my business, because that was an opportunity to fund my business. Actually, it's like I would say another revenue stream inside of the business that I was in. And then another failure, 2 months before I started the class, was prom season. And I was getting a lot of requests to collaborate with other designers to create gowns for prom queens and proms, the young queens going to the prom. I'm so I kept rejecting that, because what am I thinking? Niche market over $100 and above. So I want their moms, their aunts, everyone else other than the kids, which was stupid, because this was another way for me to make money. And we were taught in this class about, we were given the example on loyalty with Blaze Kenya. I didn't know about that. I hadn't even thought about it until we were taught. So I was like, yes, this is actually, I'm building loyalty with this young. And so mine is not a success story. I mean, it's a success story, just not in numbers. I'm just here to tell you about my progress and the things I have learned. The Centonomy class was worth every penny for me. The fact that I'm standing here with my shaky voice, I have defeated fear. I can go home today and say, yes, I stammered, but I did it. So I'm very proud of myself. And if you're an entrepreneur or you want to start a business, now this is for our guests, please take the class,
I want to learn from people who have been there. I want to learn from people who are doing it, and I can see that they are successful. Success is relative, but at least there is something that I can see they are doing. So I knew different organizations that are offering this kind of support, and there's nothing wrong. But then what appealed to me is, at that point, Centonomy started doing this blast. I am not the CEO. You know who said that, right? I am not the CEO. And I was like, woman, you are bold. And what have you done to step away and to allow the organization to grow? And that really drew me closer. And I said, I would really like to engage with Centonomy again. Yeah. So I came in. Now, the first class, when I came, I remember Waithaka was taking us through. And she said, I can't remember how many seconds it was, but it was that turn to someone. Was it 15 seconds or 30 seconds? It was how many seconds? 30 seconds. Introduce yourself to somebody, tell them what you do, have a chat, then 30 seconds done, move to the next one. 30 seconds done, move to the next one. By the third person, I asked myself, what is that I'm saying again? You know? So by the fourth person, I was starting to not change, because I was actually saying the right thing, but it's about the narrative. Yeah, you'd think I'm a marketer, and also you'd think I know how to frame it, but you know, it's always about continuous improvement, right? So from that, I was like, okay, that's good. Then we fast forward, we go, and is it Sheba who took us to about fear? Yeah, and for the record, Waithaka, I'm stealing that whole model, because, thank you, because it works. And the question was, what are you scared about? What is the fear that you have? And you know, you write it, but it was from spiders as a lady to going broke, right? Yeah. And the question was, if all that happened, what would happen to you? Then what would you still remain with? And out of what remains, what would you do? And for me, that was like, okay, even if the class is stopped right here, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay to continue. But then we continued. For me, the first couple of sessions were very foundational. Yeah, because the question was, remember the entrepreneurial vehicle? Yeah, and I hope I get this right. I think there's something about your fuel. What is your fuel, right? Why are you doing what you're doing? What irritates you? What is that thing that just makes you uncomfortable? And for me, I realized, oh my goodness, it is just that lack of alignment
in what business development is doing, to what marketing is doing, to what client experience is doing. And just seeing that at times even the people in there, they're not able to have those conversations with the board. They're not able to have conversations with the top leadership. And most of the time you're on the expense side of the P&L, right? It's hard for you to articulate your value and even to develop to talk about that value proposition that your organization is taking forward. So I was like, okay, for me, those are the things that really jabbed me. I'm like, okay, can I help you? Can I just help you about this? But then I was like, but what's the bigger, relating it to the last class, why, and why? Yeah. By the time I reached the third or fourth level of why, I realized my why is growth. Yeah. It's about growth of organization. It's about growth of people. It's about growth of skills. So in that entrepreneurial vehicle, as we proceeded, I think the next was about the engine. I hope I'm getting it right. And what is that product? What is that service? What are you taking out to the market? And I stood back and I said, because I have worked in different organizations, yeah, right from financial services, from banking to professional service firms, my focus was kind of narrow, yeah, because there are other professional services. You are in professional service, for example. The accountants, the actuaries, the lawyers, the engineers, most of the times they are so good technically, right? But in terms of their market engagement, they do what they know best, but it kind of has a cap right there. And I was like, for me, I was very passionate about that because it is even against the law for some of them to even advertise, even the doctors and all, right? It's against the law, but how can they go out to the market? So I ended up, and it's true, it's a niche for me. And I understand it because I worked there, and yeah, I really like those kind of conversations, and I like convincing those people that this is the value that you're able to get. But then I realized, hey, you know what? Instead of being that very narrow, you can still tweak this. There is a broader market for that. Yeah, the banks also need this. There are also other organizations that still need it. So am I able to tweak this a little bit? So I realized, okay, you know what, maybe I'm not saying don't focus, but just have it in a way that you're able to customize it for different markets. The other thing is I realized, and asking around, including my plus one here today, the question was, okay, I've always wanted to train. For me, some of my highs, I can do this. Let's break for lunch, come back, do it tomorrow, I'll come and do this again. Just this collaboration that I'm having with you guys. And that just, I feel inspired, re-energized and all. So I was like, why aren't I doing this? I end up doing it for my clients without even, I haven't packaged it. You almost just give, you do it as a BAU, just a business as usual. And I was like, why aren't I sitting down and just packaging it? And it can supplement what I'm doing. Actually, it can be a standalone. Yeah, it can be a standalone of some of the services that I'm doing. So from that foundational part of the course that we are doing, it really made me think about what I'm doing. It really made me think about what I'm passionate about, how I'm engaging with organizations. Even if it is my former employer, even if I'm to go there, what would I say I'm going to do for them? You know, because you need to be able to customize some of the solutions that you have. So that bit of it was foundational. And there's so many other things that we learned about. Then we went into the more technical bits of it, and I hope that this was intentional. That was my interpretation of the whole course, the way it was structured. And we were talking about this course, and I said, I don't know where I would have met some of these people that I got to meet. Yeah, I don't even think I would afford them for 1 hour. Yeah, for 1 hour of their time, because they are so experienced. Yeah, and just sitting down, it wasn't theoretical. My best times were because they came and they told us about their failures. They told us where they did it and did it well. They told us, oh, when we began, this is where we were at. We got some shareholders who came in a short while. They had to leave. We had to get loans. Then we had to do this and the other. And I was like, okay, truly, this is what I needed to hear. Now, did I immediately start changing things? At some point, it gave me structure. Some things I had done. Back to, I can't remember at what point, but I think we did the business model canvas. I had done it, but being that we held conversation and heard about how someone else had done it, I went back and redid all of it again because I'm thinking you had missed this and this and that. So what I'm saying is that it is not that some things were brand new, but what was new was listening to people and how they are able to articulate it. Some things I really did not know, to be honest. You remember something capital. I can't remember. The 10% and the 30% and the in between. That was what? Raising. Yeah, that one. And then there was the another one for managing the working capital, right? For me, I mean, they are really ecstatic, those classes, because you really get to think. I beat myself a lot because we as entrepreneurs, we as people, and even if you're coming from corporate, even if it is your side hustle, and then you're thinking, I have some money that I want to inject. Half the time, at least I did not sit back to think, what return is it giving me as an individual? Yeah? For me, that was really a value add, because you just push it in, you're not thinking that this is the same way someone would give me money to return at a certain point in time. So every class that we've gone through, there has been a takeout for me. Have I applied all of them? No, but I hope that I'd be able to come back, as she said, as Kalecha said, that I'd be able to come back later at some point and say that this is what we do, this is what we have done, this is what we have co-opted, and things are looking different. We've been able to reach more people, we've been able to help more organizations, and for us is that they have grown. Yeah, eventually we want to see them grow, and also want to see professionals more empowered, and that they are able to have, we say, you're able to earn a seat at the table, you're just not part of the menu. That is what I am hoping to help marketers do. You're just not part of the menu of many options. So it has been great being here. And as I was thinking about it, remember those letters that we wrote? To be honest, yes, I picked mine, but I read it yesterday evening, yeah? And I think I read it like 5 times. Because it was Wanjeri at 90. Was it 90 or 80? 90. Yeah, Wanjeri at 90 speaking to Wanjeri at X years. Yeah? And I was just like, wow. I mean, I need to type it out and keep it well, because I was like, okay, fine, girl, you're on to something. Just hang in there, you know, because truly then it justifies a lot of things that I'm doing, and it also justifies why my focus in employment was 1, 2, 3, because it was still on the areas of growth that I'm talking about. Yeah. So at the end of the day, my file is not a shelf document. My file is a live document. Because, and you'll agree with me, like the first 3, 4 classes, the assignments were major. They were a lot. If you're like me, you tend to do it maybe the Friday before, you end up sleeping at something a.m. because you're like, this is so much work. But I don't think it was just for that assignment then. It is so that it can be an ongoing. It can be ongoing, and we can be able to look at it, review and review. So we have a lot of material, and we have a lot of tools that is able to take us into the future.
When it comes to fashion, there are many facets. So I realized you can be a fashion writer. I realized you can be a stylist. You can be a magazine writer, editor, and all that. You can be a designer. So I realized there was a whole world of fashion other than just making clothes. When you look at things from a business angle, before you're looking, you're like, oh, clothes are cheap, let me buy, let me look cute. When you look at a business angle and someone is selling to you a top for 30 bob, even 10 bob, and our clothes were under 1,000. And we called it Market Day Fridays. We'd only release clothes on Fridays. The only time you could buy those clothes was Fridays, and would ship them out or deliver them on Saturday. So Saturday morning between 9 a.m. and 1 o'clock, I used to go to a restaurant at Lifestyle. We'd sit there, we've already done the packaging, you've already paid for your thing. You come and say, my name is Mary Wanjiro, I remove for you, I give you a Caro, thank you very much. In those jewelers, you're a very cute dude though, by the way. It was really just obvious, Anna, let me tell you. But that was the first step into entering into the fashion business for me. And the first week, that first day we sold, we spent 2K plus transport, by the way, and we made 14,000. I started making mistakes. I was like, I've done it, I've made it big. I took some savings, and then I bought too much stock, and I overstocked the shop, because I thought the more things that are there, people will buy, which I realized that was the worst thing. The fewer the things, the fewer the choices. People buy the few items. This is one thing I ended up learning. People buy the few items that are there. The next week, add a few more. They'll come for the few more that are there. The next week, add a few more. Don't just overstock the shop. When you launch, let me tell you something. For me who's online, When you launch something, the first day, I thought that is the day you make the most money. It's the day you've made the most noise. It's the day people are telling you congratulations. I'm telling you that day I launched that shop, I think I had 600 comments. My God, I got one sale, 2,000 shillings, 600 comments. Launch day, I always say, is not the day you make money. Launch day is the day people tell you congratulations, but they are not coming to give you their money. Now watandika hapo, sis, take our coins, sis, you know, and I'm like, sis, sis, where are you? At the end of the day, you didn't come, you know. So that day, I think I made 2,500. I was selling trousers. Someone bought them for their girlfriend at the end of the day. And it was a friend of mine, by the way. They'd come to visit. So it wasn't from a customer. And that's the day I realized, my God, entrepreneurship, see, on day one, it's making those small steps every day. Making, you know, posting daily, you know, talking to your customers daily. It's everyday small steps. See, one day, grand gesture, everybody has talked about me now, Kujeni. That's not it. So launch day, I use it to promote myself. If I make zero bob, I'm fine with it, but I use it as a PR thing. People know I have this shop, and then now I continuously, you know, market myself. I learned from entrepreneurship the third week. I learned about the sales cycle, and I learned my third week is usually my worst week. So I've had to come up with strategies for my third week. So last year, after that incident of things delaying, it's when it pushed me. It pushed me to do something different. I've always felt the need, like I said, tailoring, designing. I always felt like I wasn't a designer because I never went to school. But then after doing the entrepreneurship class, I realized I'm a business person. I know how I can make money with fashion. I went from selling, I can say I used to import maybe around 12 to 30 pieces of a certain item, you know. I went from doing that to being able to make 50 pieces and sell 50 pieces within 2 weeks. I could sell 12 within a month, but now I was able to sell 50, maybe to 100 within 2 weeks. And all this I can say happened because I also learned about pricing strategies.
Habari zenyu wote. Acha nitumie ya kwetu chamge. Chamge tugul. So my name is Kagai John. I go by the name KJ. Anytime you're in Eldoret, hata usiulize location ya salon, just go to your phone, andika tu haircut in Eldoret. Itakuonyesha location, Google Map. Tumesha pin. So that is KJ. Actually, I'm very proud to be here, and I'm really humbled to be given this opportunity. I'm a stylist. Na mnajua leo ni siku gani, si ndio? Leo ni siku gani? Yeah, stylist. Today is the day we celebrate making money. But I'll start from there. Centonomy has taught me one thing, which I'm enjoying today. I'll call it freedom. Because I'm here. My team is making money. I'm one of the biggest producers in our business, KJ. Because the brand goes by my name. Client akikuja anauliza KJ yako wapi leo. But there's one thing I've learned, freedom. That is why I can come to Nairobi and not worry. And which kind of freedom are we talking about? The first one is financial. So you'll ask me, where does it come from? Where do you get financial freedom? Actually, after my second class, I used to come by bus. Napanda basi. The first day I came, nilikuja. Kwanza I came before. Sikuwa nataka kuja nipotee. So, mara ya kwanza nikakuja na my wife, nikamwambia wacha tuende tu Nairobi, tushukie hapo West, tutafute hiyo Victoria Court iko wapi. Ndio siku yenye nitakuja nisianze kuchanganyikiwa nichelewe darasa. So we came, tukaangalia Victoria Court, tukaingia hapo, tukaona furniture kidogo. So yes, and then we went on with our business. So nikajua location. So the first day I came, nilikuja na easy coach, nikashukia hapa. I left Eldoret at 9:45. Nikafika hapa 3:45. I was tired, of course. But I wanted to know, hii Centonomy ni nini? So tukaendelea the first day. The second time, nikakuja na basi. I was so exhausted because I'd left the salon late. So I thought that was the time we were doing big opportunity. So I thought, big opportunity. Where? Nikaanza kufikiria. So what came in my mind is this. I have a team. I've employed 17 guys who work under me. So 17 guys. What is it that they are not doing? I want these 17 people to pay a ticket for me to Nairobi which is 4,500 shillings only. Where does it go to? Transferring value. Transfer of value. How? In a salon, if KJ alone can apply gel, so I can only make 500 within 30 minutes. So how do we do it? I have 4 guys who always sit there. Senye KJ anafanya gel wako tu wanaangalia. So nitakuja Nairobi aje. We kuja. Nini ujui about gel ka hapa? What is it that you don't understand about gel? Let's go through it. I have textbooks. Tusome. Within the first week, my ticket was paid. How did I come to the airport? One of my staff asked me, uliendaje Nairobi? Nilimwambia tu nilichukua taxi nikaenda airport. So all along from my 3rd class, I've been flying to Nairobi. It's been convenient for me. So I'm getting the freedom I'm talking about, the financial freedom. But there's a cost to pay. For financial freedom, there's a cost to pay. One thing you have to do that is very important, structure. Structure your business. Kama saa hii tuseme for example, wanataka kununua shampoo. Watanitumia check na no thrift. Sasa ndio ni sign ndio nirudishe jioni walipe. Structure. Within my team, I never used to know within my team, there are guys who are better than me. I used to think I'm the best. But after we talked about structure in the Centonomy class, that is where my opportunity was lying. I have someone in my business, anaitwa Derek. He's a young guy, he's around 20. Huyu jamaa anakuanga tu kwa Instagram. But he's a good guy. You know what I did? Alikuwa na page moja. Iko na 5,000 followers. Then I'm just thinking about big opportunity within my business. So I tell Derek, mazee wanajua hizi vitu za Instagram. Niuzie hii page yako. Utaniuzia aje? Akaniambia pesa kidogo 1,500. Sawa, nipe to change content. It is one of our pages inaitwa KJ's Nails and Makeup. Alituzia hiyo page. He's the one who runs that page. Followers wana flock hivi. The other day I was actually telling some of my friends here, there's actually the guys who own big salons in Eldoret wanaitwa Jones. So there's one guy who is one of my competitors and my mentors, anaitwa Mwangi. So I thought I want to reach out to Mwangi's clients. What do I do? I sat down with a guy called Derek in my team and a lady called Ann. Nikauliza tufanyaje ndio wateja wa Mwangi wajue KJ iko Eldoret. So these guys told me, by the way, huyu anaitwa John Kagai, huyu anaitwa John Mwangi, na ule mwingine anaitwa John CTNA. So we write a story about the Johns. So what we did, and this one is real, my friend. It was on Thursday. We wrote a story about the Johns. So the John Mwangi, who is my mentor and has many followers than me, posted KJ Salon on his page because I wrote a story about him. Strategy. But I never used to know my team. That is where my strength is. My team. Mazee KJ ni mpua na finances. Hata nikipewa ni manage nitashindwa. Someone I'm always with, my wife Jessica. Finance nampea tao asubuhi. Jioni yako na so 7. That means she's better than me. Personal finances. Nikamwambia Jesse, fanya hivi. Hizi accounts za job chukua. Manage. Open even new accounts. Wachana na ile nimekuwa nikirun solo. You just do it. Rent is paid by the 25th. Hakuna deni ya supplier. When I was running it, kulikuwa mpaka na deni ya supplier. Kwa sababu na postponed. There's only one thing I showed Jess. Sikujua ita I think wacha nitumie tu. Let me just use here. Nilimuonyesha tu kitu na sikujua ita make sense. I learned it in class. It's called the Eindhoven's box. You remember that thing? Where you draw a box and then this is urgent, not urgent, and this is important. You know what happened? Because we discussed jioni nikitoka wakati nilifika home asubuhi because I naenda na basi jioni. So nafika at around 4. So we discussed with her. Nikamwambia kuna hii box nimejua leo, Eindhoven's box. Akaniambia in the morning, because we normally have a diary at work of the things we are supposed to do that particular day. Do you know what happened? Walichukua hiyo diary wakagawa into 4. And that is the format. Wanaandikanga hapa vitu urgent and important. Zenye si important wanaikanga huku chini. It's become a standard. the strength within my team. But how did I come to know? I had to pay the cost. Come all the way to Centonomy. So if you want freedom, because I'm wondering, John nitatumia report na niko hapa. Na ni good report yenye watu wamefanya kazi. The strength within your team, you can't know it if you don't have the information. Believe you me, mazee Centonomy kwangu, hata I was asking Ruby the other day namuuliza, sasa Centonomy imeisha alafu. You guys need to add for me like 3 classes mazee. It's been too short. The content is perfect. My accountant did reports the other day ya kuanzia January to March. Before he never used to understand. So ananiletea naangalia, I can really relate. I know where my business is going because now I can understand how figures work. So for you to get your freedom, you have to transfer the value. Another thing you have to know, BMC, Business Model Canvas. Jua wateja wako. Jua wateja wako. Business Model Canvas really ilinisaidia kabisa. Kuna ule mteja anakujanga tu kwa salon. Kuna mademu wengi hapa wanajua. Wanataka tu kusumbua na wanataka service ya bei kali. Jua ako kwa segment gani? Jua tu, it's important when you know, because when you don't know mtasumbuana. We mpe jina, of course asijue, lakini unajua huyu ni ule sumbua. So you know what to give to them. You know what you expect from them. So that you don't force someone to buy services they can't afford. Just give them what they want. Because sasa mimi, what I decided is, of course I've won 2 hair awards. Mimi sitafanya blow dry na 200. Siwezi. I cannot. Hata kama nakupenda. Hata my own mom siwezi mfanyia blow dry ya 200. My own mom, my own sister, siwezi. Because I know my value. If you want a blow dry for 30 minutes, I lead the process. I'll charge you between 800 to 1,000. It's in Eldoret. It's in Eldoret. But I'm giving you quality. I'm giving you something, an award-winning, multi-award-winning stylist making your hair. So, yes, that's my value. So, when you do your BMC, you know your value.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're logged in. My name is Maxwell Gichuhi. I will be your facilitator this morning or this hour in particular. I would like to hear from all of you, wherever you're watching from. Just to know that you're in, kindly say your first name and where you logged in from.
Yeah, good morning. This is Nick. I'm logged in from Bondo, Siaya County.
Fantastic, Nick. Fantastic, Nick. Looking for a lovely session to interact with you. Anyone else?
Hello, this is Angela. I'm logged in from Kikuyu, Kenya.
Fantastic, Angela. Fantastic. Rosemary says she's logged in from Zambia. Thank you, Rosemary. Let's get 2 more people.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Esther, and I'm in Nairobi.
In Nairobi.
Yeah.
Fantastic, Esther. Fantastic. One more person. Alicia says she's logged in from Bujumbura.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Sharon Jeru, logged in from Gichuhi County.
Fantastic, Sharon. Fantastic, fantastic. All right.
Greetings, everyone.
Greetings to you.
My name is Ellen Masuku. I'm from Kitengela.
Thank you, Helen from Kitengela.
Thank you.
Right. I can see someone logged in from Ruai, Nakuru, Rwanda, Moranga, Nakuru, Bujumbura, Syokimau. I thank God for this opportunity that we are able to log in from every direction. Welcome to Centonomy Entrepreneurship event, targeting those people who are interested in running a business or are in business. This is an entrepreneurship event that I definitely guarantee you will never forget about, and hoping that most of you will log in into our class where we will get much, much more. Remember, today what we have is just a tip. We're just getting a few gems from our speakers this morning, but the main thing, the crust of the matter, will be in the class that we'll be running. And I would like to say from the very beginning that being cognizant of the environment we are in, the economic situation, Centonomy has come up with a Lipa Pole Pole offer, Lipa Pole Pole offer that enables you to be able to pay in small installments so that you can be in the next class. I want you to take a quote from two leading business leaders. And the first one is from Jack Welch. Jack Welch says, if I had to run a company on 3 measures, those measures would be customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction, and cash flow, all right? So cash flow is king. The second one is from Chris Chocola. Chris says this, the fact is that one of the earliest lessons I learned in business was that balance sheets and income statements are fiction. Cash flow is reality. All right. And I can never forget the father of business, Peter Drucker. Peter Drucker says, and I'm sure most of us can identify with this one, entrepreneurs believe that profit is what matters most in a new enterprise, but profit is secondary. Cash flow matters most. So ladies and gentlemen, we have an interesting topic. The lifeline of business is in entrepreneurship, and the lifeline of entrepreneurship is cash flow, and we are here to hear more about this. All right. So remember a few housekeeping rules. If you have a question or a query, as the presenters, as the speakers are presenting, kindly feel free to put it on the chat box. Kindly feel free to put it on the chat box. I will also be putting the number of the person you can contact directly if you are interested in joining the class, and I will be sharing on how you can do that. All right. So remember, as the presentation is going on, if you feel there's a question you need answered, or there's an area you need clarified or expounded on, remember to put it on the chat box, and I will read it out to our presenters. All right. The next thing is probably during the question and answer session, if you'd like to ask the question directly, you can lift up your hand, use the tool on your Zoom platform, and I will be able to call you out. Okay. So this is the discount. Christmas comes early. This is the discount Centonomy is giving you, the 10% lockdown discount. 10% lockdown discount. If you pay today, you will get this early Christmas offer of 10%. And remember, entrepreneurship, or rather the Centonomy Entrepreneurship class, is not just a theoretical class where we come in to learn about what Abbott said, where we come up to learn what Kant said. But most importantly, this is an interactive session with people who have been in business, right? Operated in their environment, so they know what you're going through. They understand the challenges entrepreneurs go through because they've been through them, all right? They've been through the valleys and the mountains in the same field. So you're in the best position, you're in the best class to learn. And it's just not a class, it's an interactive session, right? So you get to ask those your own personal business questions. How can I deal with such a situation? And that's what makes it exciting. And you're doing this in the midst of your peers, people who are also doing the same thing as you are. It could be a different product, different service, but entrepreneurship is the same, all right? We all need cash flow. We all need to know how to structure our business. We all need to decide where is the company going, all right? How can we excite our investors, all right? How can the book look upon us with a smile? And let me highlight some of the modules. We have 14 modules, and you can see them on your screen. The entrepreneurship mindset. Let me say something about the mindset. All Centonomy courses start from the mindset. The key thing, forget the other 30 networks. If we don't change our mindset, nothing else works, right? We will face the same challenges and use the same tools we've been using forever. And of course, they say doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is not a great idea, right? So all our courses, apart from the entrepreneurship, we have the 101, we have the Chama, we have the campus edition, and there are so many, and I would like to ask you to log in on our website just to browse through all the other classes that Centonomy offers. But this is the Centonomy Entrepreneurship module, and these are the modules that will be offered in that particular class. You can see about design thinking. Some of us have never heard about this word until maybe today, but design thinking is critical for a business to be established and to foster for posterity, right? Fear and vision, structure and strategy, marketing. And of course, today, marketing without digital marketing is just like a man with one eye, okay? So we need both to learn the usual marketing strategy and the digital marketing. Working capital. I'm sure most of us would want to know about this. And as I started business many years ago, this was my greatest challenge. I've also been in business for more than 15 years running my own businesses. And I can tell you, I'm sure we want to hear about working capital, right? We've got accounting, raising capital, business financial planning, taxation, legal issue. And of course, most of us who are in business, and if our businesses are growing, legal is one of the bits we really want to find our grasp, right? This is one place sometimes you get a letter from KRA and you just want to leave the country, or you get a letter from your country's revenue authority and you want to disappear, right? So all of this is covered in Centonomy Entrepreneurship class, and it is an exciting ride. Remember, I said we have our special offer today. So you don't pay the $2,100, but you get your early Christmas offer and pay $1,100 to lock in your seat, all right? And remember, these classes are online. So whether you're logging in from Bujumbura, from America, from Rwanda, from South Africa, or Nigeria, or Europe, wherever you're logged in from, this class still works for you, right? So the tuition fee payable in 3 installments. But like I told you, we have a good offer where you can lipa mdogo mdogo, you can lipa pole pole, and this is it, right? This is it. I told you Centonomy is cognizant of the fact that we are living in hard times. But as you know, for all businessmen, this is actually the time to engage in this class, because we need to know how to raise capital. We need to know how to keep our head above the waters in this stormy sea. Right? So this is the offer Centonomy is giving you so that you don't feel the pain, so that it's not difficult for you to log in. You can start paying as early as this month. You can actually start paying as early as now, right? So we've broken it down so that it's easy for all of us to enjoy, and it is easy for all of us to get logged in, right? These are our details, and I will be sharing them as we go on, but you can take a screenshot of it. Yes, Stephanie says the subject is giving her chills. And I'm sure it's not only you, Stephanie, but most of us also feel the same, right? So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to invite our first speaker this morning, or it could be afternoon, or it could be evening where you are. And this is none other than Waithaka Gatumia, who is the CEO of Centonomy Limited. and also a businessman. He's been running businesses. So he's not just coming to talk from the textbook, but he's a man who's talking from the firing line, right? He's been at the front of the firing squad. So he will be giving you actual and practical and implementable tools and skills. Remember, like I said, Centonomy Entrepreneurship is here to equip you with a new mindset that will help you foster challenges, all right, thrive in your area of calling, and also prosper for posterity, so that tomorrow that business will still be there to the second and third generation. It is possible because we've seen this before, and it is possible that you can start the same. Remember, dreaming is free, and all of us have the opportunity to dream, right? So ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Waithaka Gatumia to the stage.
Hey, Maxwell, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you for telling us a little bit more about the program. It's quite encouraging to hear those positive stories coming out. And so, yeah, very grateful for that. I wanted to just mention, I love when I hear all the people who are coming into these sessions who are speaking about Africa. I just noticed on Facebook, thank you so much to Dan, who was just talking about, I can't wait to be part of this Centonomy Freedom, that you're doing an awesome job for Africa. That's our aim, that's our goal. We're working towards lifting Africa. And one of the things that you have to realize is that in any economy, business is the driver. And if business is not growing, if business is not succeeding, then you find that those drivers are not there. Another factor is who owns those businesses. Because when you think about it and you look across Africa, there is a huge amount of wealth in this space. There's a huge amount of wealth in our continent in terms of just natural resources, the human capital. All these factors are here. But where is the money? So if those who come into this continent come with capital and are able to extract it, and it's vital that we're talking about this issue of cash flow. Where is the cash flowing to across this continent? It comes and it goes out. And what we're trying to do by building great businesses is build some dams across this continent where the cash will stop and it'll begin to flow into this place. That's our goal. And our passion is to help us to build wealth. As a company here at Centonomy, our mission is to shift mindsets so that purposeful people can create wealth and live abundantly. And so those two things are always linked together. There's the wealth element, but there's also abundant life. When we talk about abundant life, we're not just saying, we're not just talking about, how do I put it, simply just money. Money is not everything. When you look at it, money is a lot. So please, let's get that right. But we must be very clear that it has to be linked to purpose. It has to be linked to something that's greater than yourself. And that usually drives you even as far as your business is concerned. So hopefully we'll learn something together. I know we don't have a lot of time this morning, Maxwell. So let me get to the topic of cash flows in our business. But I just wanted to let you know about that. If you want to learn more about us, please do go to our website, centonomy.com. And we have lots of information there for you. So just to give you some context, I liked your introduction, Maxwell. Yes, I have been in business, but I am also an employee here at Centonomy, and I'm only an employee here. Let me just fungua roho a bit. Let me just open my heart just a little bit.
Yeah, please do Waithaka so that people can feel you're real. You know, when we talk about successful business people, we think they are from Mars.
So here's the thing. If I was, let me tell you, if I understood what I understand now about business, I probably would not be here. But one of the things, because my business would have probably gone to a different level, and I would have not taken a job like I am having right here. As CEO, I am employed by Centonomy to run this company, okay? However, in the businesses that I have, if I had understood the principles I understand now, I would not be in this position because I would be running those businesses in a different way. And so the failures that I went through and sometimes the frustrations that I was going through got me into this position. So I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. Why? Because being in this position has allowed me to see things I would never have seen before. And I'm learning to unpack them so that those who are getting into business don't make the same mistakes that I am. I hope that's coming through clearly. So just so that we are clear, yes, I do have a business on filmmaking. On the other side, I do have, we are trying a new business on cosmetics at this time, but I am still employed here at Centonomy, and I have to make that clear, because if I had understood these principles which I'm about to share, I would not be here. But again, Maxwell, you know, God always puts you in the right place at the right time, because I think sometimes many entrepreneurs don't know how to communicate to others what those things are. And so when you've gone through it, you're able now to communicate those issues. So let's get through this idea of cash flow. The word itself, flow, is so important for us to begin to get it. I want us to get the principle in our mindset so that we're able to work through cash flow. So it means money is moving. How is that money moving within your business? Where are the areas? Think of it like a river. A river flows downstream and water flows in that same direction. So that's how you have to think about it. How does the money flow or move within your business? If you understand that, that makes a big difference as we're going. So money flows, and here's the key. Just like water flows downstream, you know, the easiest way for it to flow, think about money like this. Money flows to where investors think, listen to this, they don't know, because investors and you're in business, there's nothing that is guaranteed in this world, but to the best of your ability, money flows to where investors think they will get the best return with the smallest risk. So think about that. If I am an investor, I want the lowest level of risk and the highest return. That's my perspective. So for those of you who are looking at getting a startup capital, you need to offer those who are in front of you, who are coming to invest in your business, a picture of the world in which you have reduced their risk of losing that money and increased their potential for earning. So let's do a quick test, because I don't like just talking. I need to get some feedback from you, especially wherever you are on Facebook. I know we're on YouTube. I know we're also here in Zoom. So just type in the chat box if you have a response for me. And I wanted you to just understand this. There is more money for investment than you can believe. I mean, when we're talking to companies who assist us in this area, like for instance, our class on raising capital, which is part of this program, we partnered with a company called Horizon Africa, and they do mergers and acquisitions. They do investment in companies. And if you go to their website, you just see like that they're doing things. When you talk about $50 million investments into a business, that's the kind of level that we're talking about. And this money is available. And you see it going to companies where investors believe there's the lowest risk and the highest potential return. So the money for investment is available. Often the problem is, where is the right business to invest? Okay, so let's just look at that. I want you now to become an investor where you're seated, and I want you to listen to these two scenarios and see where you put your money. I want to see where you'll do that in the chat box wherever you are, or in the comments on social media. So let me give you two scenarios. There's a young 20-year-old, and I know we have a few of those in this room. There's a young 20-year-old with a brilliant idea. Listen to the words I'm using. He has a brilliant idea on a new source of fuel that will revolutionize this world. Eh? This guy has a brilliant idea. He's 20-year-old. He has a brilliant idea on a new source of fuel that's going to change the fuel industry. Oil, watch out. Okay, that's one guy. At the same time, in front of you, you have a 50-year-old former CEO of a very successful company. He has a history of great success, and he's starting a new business. He has seen a gap in the market. Okay, these are the two guys. So there's the 20-year-old with a brilliant idea on a new source of fuel that can change the world. And on the other side, you have a 50-year-old former CEO of a very successful company. He has succeeded over and over again, And he's breaking away now. He's going to start his own company because he has seen a gap in the market. I want to ask you now in the chat box, you are now the investor. Where will you put your money? Quickly, quickly, quickly in the chat box. Thank you. Nicholas, you have answered very well. Ellen, very good, very good. Raisa, very good, very good. You're now beginning to see why. Why is this? I'm waiting to see if I can see anyone saying the 20-year-old. But he has a brilliant idea that will change the world. He's not even talking about, we don't even, this CEO, his business, we don't know. You know, is it just going to be here in Africa in a local place? This young man is talking about world changing. Why aren't we putting our money there? Mm-hmm. This is what I'm trying to understand. So watch this. You as an investor, look at it. You as an investor are saying, this 20-year-old majority, finally one person, well done, Caroline, you are the risk taker. In this world, we need a few risk takers, the greater fools in this world. And I'm not saying that you're a fool, Caroline. There's an economic concept called the greater fool. They take risks that others are not willing to. So I understand. Thank you so much for those who are going that direction. But majority of us, as you can see from the comments, they are looking at that CEO. Why is it? Because you're saying this guy has a history that generally reduces my risk and the potential return increases. Now, watch this. Let's see. I want to change that scenario so that we can see what I'm talking about here. Here's the second scenario. Watch this. Watch this. I have a 20-year-old. This is option number 2. Option number 2. The 20-year-old now has a patent for a new source of fuel. He has a patent. This fuel has been tested by all the authorities. It has gone through testing with manufacturers of vehicles. It's not in production yet, but he has tested it, and the young man has a patent for this fuel. This fuel source that is going to change the market. It has a 50% a higher efficiency than oil. Are we together? This guy has the patent for this fuel source. And in front of you is this CEO, okay? He has been having a history of success. The same guy we talked about in the first example, he has a history of success. He's going to start a new business. He's seen a gap in the market. Now, between the two of them, quickly in the chat box, where will you put your money? Where will we put our money now? I'm trying to see if I've convinced people to change. Nicholas, I think you're the fastest to answer this. Thank you so much. I can see. Now, something is happening in the room. Oh my good, and these are the same people who were saying a few minutes ago.
Absolutely.
that they were not going to invest in that. Why? Because suddenly, watch this, the availability of something that is of great value has become clear, and therefore the money is going to flow there. So when I'm speaking about cash flow at the start of a business, we're talking about startup capital. And for all those who have been complaining and saying, hey, in this world, Ellen, no worry, no problem. Again, in this, it's not 100%. In investment, you go where your heart is. In fact, I'm going to talk about that. Ellen, thank you so much. Ellen is still saying, I'm going with experience. I don't want that 20-year-old. but watch this, watch this. Look at the shift in the responses in the chat box. You'll see more people now are saying, hey, wait, that 20-year-old, he has something. All he needs now is money and experience to help build. We can bring for that 20-year-old in fact, we hire a CEO to come and help this 20-year-old manage his business. That's what we're talking about. I hope you're beginning to see what we're saying. So watch this. The cash flowing into the business is called startup capital. And money flows, as we said at this beginning, we talked about it. It flows where investors think there's the lowest risk and the highest potential return. So if you're struggling to find investors and you're saying, nobody's investing in my business, then probably you have not convinced them that you have reduced their risk and there's a high potential return. So when look, money is available, and you'll be shocked. Just read in the newspaper and see. When Branch, was it Branch? Yes. A couple of years ago, you could see they were massively expanding and they were doing mobile lending at a massive rate. $3 billion. Where did $3 billion come from? To get, no, not dollars. It was 3 billion shillings, sorry. 3 billion shillings that was invested into that company. Where did that money come from? The money is available once they see a good idea. Think about it. A company like Java, a couple of years ago, those who are in Kenya, Java is essentially for those who are outside of Kenya, Java is like our internal Starbucks. Starbucks has not come to Kenya, and we pray they don't come. We want our local companies to be there. But Java is like a Starbucks here, and Java was able to raise 13 billion shillings in capital because they had proved the concept. Money is available once you approve the concept. Look at the chat box. You are proving the concept yourself. When you see an investment that is worth, money will flow to that investment. In fact, in the class, we're always talking about this. Money is looking for value. It is actively looking for value. And when you can show there's value, money will flow there like you've never seen before. And this is what we're talking about. So I'm encouraging you and telling you this: cash flow into the business is your startup capital, and it'll flow into businesses where investors believe there is lower risk and higher potential return. Just remember this: those who are investing in your business must believe in you. Yeah? They must believe, and you can prove it. So remember, in the first scenario, we were believing, as most of us were believing in that CEO because he has experience. But when that young man finally got a patent and you could see the science and it says it is 50% more efficient than oil, now our money began to flow there. Let's talk about, that's just the beginning of it. Now let's talk about the cash flowing within your business. And let's use some more examples as we go along. I need your help, and I'm going to need your help in the chat box. Please help us out with this. Look at this. I am a talented cook. I know how to go to the kitchen and do some good stuff. So I decide to bake a cake. I go to the supermarket, I buy ingredients, and I get your unga, your oil, your flour, your sugar, all those things, and I buy them for 500 shillings, which is about $5. 500 shillings, about $5. And I bake a wonderful cake. Let me tell you, I'm talented. I then go and sell this cake, which cost me, the ingredients cost me 500 shillings, $5. I sell this cake for 1,000 shillings, which is about $10. Okay? I therefore have made 500 shillings, about $5. That's the difference that I've made. What do I call that money that I have just made? Type in the chat box real quick. What do I call that money? What is it called? I'm waiting to see whether people who are in this room and understand entrepreneurship. What is that money called? Let's go. Keep going, keep going. I only have 2 responses. What is that money called? Oh. Keep going, keep going. Maxwell, I think the message is breaking through.
I truly believe so.
Slowly by slowly, this message is coming through. Slowly by slowly. First of all, let me just give a few people a shout out. First of all, number 1, where is he? Nicholas. Thank you so much. Now, your name is so hard. Let me just try one more time. Ngendahayo, I hope I got it. Ngendahayo, I hope I got that correct. Hey, that one was hard. Nick, thank you so much. Alicia, thank you so much. Who else was that?
Caroline.
Good. I don't know if I saw Carol. Caroline, did she get it as well?
Oh, okay.
Not yet. There were some people. Alicia, there we go. Gross profit. Many of us, and you can see it in the chat box, just look around you and just see. Some people identified that money that I made in that moment as profit. Yes, it is a type of profit, but it is not all my, it is called gross profit. Because all that I've done is said, I bought ingredients at a certain level, I sold that product at a certain level, and I made sure on those ingredients that I've made some money on that. Excellent, excellent, excellent. First of all, as an entrepreneur, if you understand that this money is called gross profit, then you understand that it is not your money. You know, we think that all profit in a business is ours. No, entrepreneurs understand that that 500 shillings or $5 that I made on top is not my money yet. It's not. That is simply, as you have said, all those who got it, that's right, gross profit. Why? What have we not accounted for when we do this? Come on, guys. Let's type in the chat box wherever you are. So I bought ingredients. I sold it at a higher price than the cost of ingredients. But there's something that I've not taken. Bella, thank you so much. And this becomes extremely important, especially for you, the entrepreneur. Because Ellen, you said labor. But who is the labor, Ellen? Ellen, write in the chat box. I'm looking for your response there. Who is that? Who and anyone else who can understand? Who made this cake? Who made it? Because we are saying labor. It is me. So in that business, I have not accounted for, don't just call it labor, because labor sometimes, thank you, Mohammed, for shouting at me, thank you. When we say labor, let us begin to understand what that means. So expenses, definitely. But one of the core expenses that people are talking about here, thank you so much, is labor. And labor is me. What am I worth per hour? See, I came up with the idea. I came up with the idea of the cake. I put together my skill set. I used my time. I marketed it because I was able to sell it. This is value that I've put into this business. And I assure you that value is not worth $5, 500 shillings. And so now, if we understand that, then we begin to say, what am I worth? The other expenses are very easy. Thank you so much for all those who are putting there. Like Nick, I appreciate that. You're saying, I have to transport these things I had to go and buy them and bring them here. I had to transport it to the final person. I have to pay for the electricity that I used. I have to use the fuel and all those other things. Thank you. But one of the key factors is I need to understand how much am I worth, and my time, my energy, my skill. Because when I add myself, you, the entrepreneur, to your business, and this is a key part of the cash flows in business, is that you become an expense in your business. Now you begin to understand which part of the cash flowing through this business is mine. Because if we think, and many entrepreneurs who are starting their business, and many times when we are in that, even not to people who are starting their business, even 10 years into their business, Maxwell, we have seen them in our classes. We have seen guys who are coming 10 years into their business, and they still think that all the profit that is made is theirs in a proper business. But here now we are beginning to understand, hey, which part of this cash flow is mine? And if I understand that, then I'm not crippling my business. I'm allowing it to grow. And that's part of the evidence that later on, other investors will come and say, wow, this business makes sense. And cash will flow in again. So as we said, thank you so much. When now you begin to include all these expenses, including yourself as the entrepreneur, if you're working in that business, and entrepreneurs work in their businesses, that's what it is. Then now you're able to see, okay, guess what? If I'm to get my value, I cannot sell one cake. And this is a key factor. I then have to build up. How many cakes do I need to sell so that based on the profit margin that I've put there of $5, if it's almost 100% return on gross profit, then now I will be able to extract all my expenses, including myself, and get what is called a net profit after I've broken even. Now, here's something that we've seen across Africa. This concept of break-even point is key. You don't understand what it is, we find ourselves in trouble. Break-even point is the point at which, please guys, write this down so you never forget, the point at which the expenses of the business have now been matched by the revenue, which is money coming in, the sales that you have made, the revenue coming into the business, and they match each other exactly. Operational costs. You said to that. All the operational costs, the cost of transport, those expenses, thank you so much that we're going into that same space. All those operation costs, my time, my energy, my expenses, my, all those things together. Now, I don't have a lot of time to get into this, but we have a whole class on this in the Centonomy Entrepreneur class called the, what is it now called? Where's the, working capital. That's the, sorry, the word disappeared for a second. I knew it was, so working capital is, we talk about it because now we begin to understand what are those cash flows that are going through that business. So Alicia, it is the point at which all the money coming into the business matches the operating costs of your business. That is the break-even point. Because any business that has reached that point called break-even, any point, means that any sales you make above that, you're now in profit. If you cannot match your break-even, your expenses, that means that business is making a loss. And when I've sold my first cake, watch this. When I sell that first cake, it looks like I've made a profit of $5, but I haven't. Because that $5 cannot cater for my transport, my skill, the electricity, all the other costs that went into that business. And so now for this business to become a viable business, a real business, I have to then sell enough cakes so that the margin of profit that is there increases to cover who I am and all the expenses within my business. Now, watch this. When you know this, then you will decide a target for your business. And if you're going to do cash flows in your business, then you have to be clear on how much money is coming in order to achieve break even and even a profit above that. One of the biggest issues we have with cash flow in new businesses and businesses that have been struggling over years is a problem, Maxwell, of targets. If you don't have a target for your business, that's why we struggle. All of you, I know because we have many people in this room. Maxwell, how much time do I have left so that I know how I'm going to manage this?
You have around 10 minutes.
Good. Watch this. All of us who are in this room who have worked in another organization, we spend in an organization that has paid you a salary and that has been in existence for a long period of time. Have you noticed how in those who are in management, we spend hours and hours and hours working on targets for the next year? Why? Because the business, in order for this business to make sense, you have to be hitting certain levels of sales. This bakery, my bakery, since I'm the one who baked the cake, it is not a business until I reach a certain level of sales. One cake does not make me an entrepreneur. I become an entrepreneur when I know selling that cake is the starting point of getting to entrepreneurship. That means that I'll need to know how many cakes, cookies, biscuits will I need to sell in order for this business to achieve break even. And as an entrepreneur, if you are going to be successful, you must understand the targets of that business. And as I said, we spend a lot of time in the class on this. So we must break this down. Understand that selling that first cake is just your step into entrepreneurship. You have not yet started a business. The business is now thinking about how do we make this consistent over time. But I hear you, Maxwell, I hear people saying, but this is especially Kenyans. You'll tell me, those who are outside of Kenya, please tell me about this because I don't know whether you experience the same thing. I hear many Kenyans especially come into our class and they ask me, but Waithaka, when will this business pay me back the money that I input? So for instance, in my filmmaking business, we spent what? It was about, how much was it? About $3,000 on equipment when we were starting. So it was buying cameras, lights, and all those various things. So that $3,000 was an investment that went into that business. So many entrepreneurs come and ask me, Waithaka, when will I get back my $3,000? Wrong. Even Waithaka asked that question. Wrong question. As an entrepreneur, you must begin to think and say, How do I use this investment of 3,000? Because those were assets that the business has bought that are being used to generate value. I should have been asking, how will this $3,000 keep returning it? Not just the 3,000 I put in. A great business will return that $3,000 a million times to infinity. How do you think about this? Think about companies that have been in business for hundreds of years. They never, their purpose was not just a return on that $3,000 initial investment. No, it was on how do I use this $3,000 initial investment to perpetually develop it. What I didn't understand was that $3,000 became an asset of the business. Think about it like this. This is one that many of us Africans will understand. If I purchase an apartment for rent, I own that apartment, it is mine. But I have a tenant and I call Maxwell, and Maxwell lives in that apartment and he pays me a cash flow every month of rent. That apartment, let's say it cost me $100,000. Let's say it cost me $100,000. I put in $100,000. But I don't have $100,000 in cash. What do I have? I have an asset that is generating cash flows to me. Now, I have rights as an owner, but also Maxwell has rights as a tenant. Maxwell, I can't come, if you are my tenant, I can't just come and say, see, this is my house. I can't come and just sit down in your apartment, in my apartment that you're living in. I can't come and sit there and just say, I just wanted to watch TV here for a while. It's mine. No. I don't have rights like that. And it's the same thing in a business. Think about it like this. Those assets that the business owns, they're yours. You own the business. But the value of it is held in the business. Just like the value of that apartment is held there. That is cash that doesn't flow. It becomes part of the value of the business. As we begin to get into this, you'll begin to see what is my priority as far as cash flows are concerned. So assets are not part of the cash flow that we're talking. That is an investment that will continuously or perpetually give you the cash flows into your pocket. But that money, that value is held in the business, just like the value. I've not lost $100,000 with the apartment that Maxwell is living in. No, I've not lost. I have it. It's my value, but I don't have the cash. I have the asset. And you have to think about assets within a business, just like that. So as an entrepreneur, that is not something that we're looking for. That I want to just make back the initial investment. No, as an entrepreneur, and that's why entrepreneurs are the wealthiest people in the world, their focus is not just on getting back their initial investment. No. Their focus is on perpetual investment. That means forever, because the cash flows are what they're looking at. Don't think like an investor when you're an entrepreneur. That's a completely different ballgame. Let me finish up now. I want to talk about cash flow out of the business now. So we talked about capital going in, how the cash circulates within the business, not forgetting yourself. Please don't forget yourself. Please don't forget yourself. And finally, cash flow out. How then do I benefit? The good thing about entrepreneurs is we eat 3 times from our business. Number one, we pay ourselves a salary. That's wonderful. That's the cash for the work that I was doing. Wonderful. I eat that. Secondly, I eat what is called dividends. Now, listen to me. Dividend is not the same as profit. Dividend is a portion of the profit which we as directors say we're going to take out of the business. So it's not all the profit, the net profit at the end of the year. No. A part of that profit, because we want to reinvest so the business perpetually generates value. So I eat my salary. If the business is profitable, net profit at the end of the year, I eat again. I take a portion of that called dividend. And the third time I eat is when I make this business of such value that other people like yourselves want to invest in it. And so you buy a stake in my business. And you buy it at a good price. At that point is now where the assets of the business become important. Because when you're valuing a business, and we talk about how to value a business, especially in raising capital in the class, when you're valuing a business, you take the value of the assets. So like if I'm that baker, my oven, the transport van, all those things become part of the value of the business. So the assets of the business, and finally the future cash flows of the business. Because I am saying people like our cakes, and they will continue to buy our cakes, we believe, forever. So you're buying a future cash flow. When you buy that, when you combine your future cash flows plus the value of the assets in the business, now you sell it to someone else, and that's where many entrepreneurs begin to make millions. When you're able to bring on board investors who want a part of that business. So listen, guys, if we don't get these concepts of cash flows into our business, we can easily miss out. And I've learned that myself, where I thought that $3,000, when will I get it back? I was thinking too small. I needed to think how that $3,000 will continuously give me a return over points. Here is the factor. Eddie, I can see your question. I mentioned when valuing a business, it's the assets within the business as well as future cash flows. You have to be able to prove that this business will continuously bring in money, and that's how you value it. Hey, Maxwell, I think I've talked too much. I hope I've not finished all my time. I think we can take some questions now. Hey.
Yes, I think we can take some questions. I just wanted you to repeat that part for Eddie so that I can tap it in. How do we value our company?
As I said one more time, Eddie, it is a factor. So it's quite a process. You have to factor in the value of the assets the business holds, and then you do a process called where you're looking at future cash flows. What will this business be able to generate over time? And you bring those two factors together, and they are the keys to valuing your business.
Right. Thank you, Waithaka.
Yeah.
I would like to ask all of us who are logged in, if you have a question or you're seeking for clarification, this is the moment. Please seize the moment.
Wow. So there are some questions that have come through, Maxwell. Can I just jump into them real quick?
Absolutely, absolutely.
How do you call that third income of the entrepreneur? Equity, sale of equity. Nick, that was it. So first of all, if you're working in the business, you're part of the value chain. Therefore, you earn from that. And that one is called a salary. So pay yourself a salary. Because as I said, I'm the one who baked the cake. So I pay myself. Then I can also as well benefit from the profit, which is called a dividend. And then at the end, if another investor thinks my business is so good, I sell equity in my business.
Equities.
Very good. Alice, you're talking about how do I translate these points into service business? I love your question, Alice. Thank you so much. In a service business, you don't have the same kind of issues. They're similar, but they're kind of different. So in a service business, the value is not in assets as much. You have few assets. You don't have like a factory. You don't have. So the value is over here. So when you're beginning to think about what are the expenses within the business, the biggest expense for a service business is usually salaries. Because if, for instance, we are consultants, we are lawyers, you pay for the lawyer's time. We are doctors, you pay for the doctor's time, their skill, their effort. So in a service business, Alice, you're talking about, I need to know what are my expenses, and one of your greatest expense is your salary, your time. And so in a service business, that's why it's so important to value your time well. We spend a bit of time in the accounting class in the entrepreneurship, where we are talking about pricing for consultants, because as a consultant, you have to be able to price your time, your skill, your effort. But above that, you also now need to begin to figure out what is the total expense, because you still need to have an office, so you're paying rent. You still have to transport yourself. So many times those costs, Alice, those costs for people in the service world, you try and input them into the cost that you pass on to the client. So that when I do, yes.
Sorry, just finish.
So when I do a deal, I make sure that those expenses are covered within the deal, transport, printing, all those things, because I don't have them internally as a business. I'm just what I bring in this case is my skill set, my mindset into this business. So when I'm doing the deal, I try and cover those costs in there so that overall, then I'm able to do that. So in the service business, working out your break-even point is all about understanding how much do my teammates cost. My team and my teammates. In a service business, people are your greatest expense. Go ahead, Maxwell.
Helen Mugo, watching in from YouTube, is asking, and I feel this is a question most of us here would want to find out. At what point, Waithaka, do you start paying yourself a salary when you start a business?
As quickly as possible. So watch this. Here's the thing that we do, and we struggle with this, especially because many of us enter into business as a side hustle. So what happens is I am employed, so I have a salary. So my salary takes care of all my needs. So on the side, I'm able to bake a cake and sell it. Okay. When I sell it, I make that gross profit. I don't have to worry about how I'm going to eat. But in a business, or a viable business, a business that is you're even going to be able to sell shares in, you have to be able to cater for all the costs of that business within the business itself. So Helen, I want you to understand this. Maybe you're not going to be able to start paying yourself a salary at the very beginning. But as an entrepreneur, you need to say, okay, I am putting value into this business and therefore it must pay me back. So as I start, I'll start with 1 cake, 2 cakes, 3 cakes. And my aim is to set a target so that I know that in the next 10 months, next 1 year, I should be making at least 100 cakes per month. That is the point at which this business will be able to pay me for the value I'm putting into it. So it is, especially when you're starting, it is a process to get to that point. But you have to, at the beginning of that business, have set a target so that you know this is when the business can function by itself. It becomes a viable business, Helen. So when should you do it? When should you? As quickly as possible. Because in a traditional startup, how businesses start, Helen, you would raise enough capital to pay yourself a salary as you sell your cakes. So what you do is you raise capital. This is how a traditional startup would be. You raise capital to open the shop, to buy the oven, the goods, everything that you're going to use to bake the cakes, and to get your first supply of supplies, and to pay the salaries of all the people working in that shop, in that bakery. If I raise enough capital to do that, our job is to work so hard within it to make sure that we're able to sell enough cakes to cover those expenses, which means break even and go beyond that point, which is profit. That's how a traditional startup would be. But now, because we are usually using our salary as part of the income, part of the cash flows to build the business, we have to set a target. Otherwise, we can remain in this perpetual limbo state. I hope I've answered your question, Helen. This is amazing, but it's a good question.
Amazing, Waithaka, and I think it's getting sweeter and sweeter by the questions I can see. But because we still have another speaker and we still have a session for the Q&A at the end, maybe you can give one more remark, and then we can proceed, and I will take in the questions that are coming in and just set them aside so that we can tackle them at the end of the session.
Maxwell, this is my thought. If I get into a rugby match and all I know are the rules of football, soccer, I will be destroyed.
You can say that again.
If I join a rugby match, if I try and play rugby with the rules of football, I will be destroyed. You see, as an employee, the rules I understand are football. Entrepreneurship is rugby. If I enter into that game and I don't know the rules of the game, I'll be destroyed. And many businesses fail, not because they didn't have a good concept, they just didn't understand the rules of the game. In the Centonomy Entrepreneur, we're trying to get people to understand the rules of the business game. They are simple. And it's not a guarantee that you're going to, just because you understand the rules, that you're going to succeed. But what it does is that it improves your chances of success if you understand the rules of the game. If I understood that that initial money that I made was not mine, I would have plowed it in significantly, because sometimes you even make a lot of money. Like I did a business deal that earned me quite a significant amount of money in dollars, but I didn't understand that that money should have been plowed back as a cash flow into the business. It could have taken my business for another year. But here is Waithaka thinking, more money, let's buy more equipment. Wrong, mistake, because I didn't understand. That's where now I got pummeled like you would in a rugby game if you try to play by the rules of soccer. In the Centonomy Entrepreneur, we are teaching you the rules of the game so that you have a greater chance of success. And what happens is, if you don't succeed in one business, you know the rules, you'll get into another one where you'll find success. I hope that
absolutely helps. Absolutely. And I think that's one of the greatest things that I love about this class, the entrepreneurship mindset. You're coming in to get the entrepreneur mindset. You already have a good idea, you're set to go, but you can't go play rugby with the rules of soccer. I think that's amazing. That's awesome, Waithaka. Thank you very much for those gems. And I would like to tell all those of us who are logged in that, like I said before, this is not the whole class. There are 14 modules. Waithaka is just giving us the nuggets that will propel us to the next level. But for us to get the whole meal, it is important for us to log in and pay for the class. And like I shared before, we have an offer. And allow me to share this, all right? Centonomy is cognizant of the situation we are in, the challenging times we are in economically, and we have a 10% lockdown, right? You can lock down your position at this moment. We're inviting all of you for the Centonomy Entrepreneurship class. What Waithaka is saying will take 14 weeks. There is capital inflow where you have time to ask all these questions. You're in an interactive, facilitated class where you're learning with your peers who are also in the same field in terms of entrepreneurship, right? And I will share this on the chat box. These are some of the things that we will cover, all right? Working capital. I remember Waithaka was talking about capital, working capital. How do you raise your capital, all right? Accounting, people are asking about how do we value things. And Waithaka talked about projected cash flow, and you get to get this from your accounting. Legal issues, Waithaka, this is for me the most scary, right? Personal finance and all that. So ladies and gentlemen, please book your seat at this moment. We have this installment you can pay, but like I said, Centonomy is cognizant of the situation we are in, and they've introduced the Centonomy Entrepreneur Lipa Pole Pole payment, where you get to pay very little amounts, but the value you get, I tell you, it's worth it. In fact, if it's possible, you can pay for your spouse, partner, brother, sister, right? Or that good friend that you've been mentoring. And I'm excited to seeing all of us in that class. And remember, it's online, so you can log in from anywhere in the world, right? I'd like to take this opportunity to invite our next speaker, who is also a businessman, who's been in our classes. And I'm sure you've seen him in our flyers. His name is Khidher Adam. He's our next speaker. He's the founder and CEO of Snack Attack Africa and Adam Realtors. But what I love about this gentleman, he's not just a businessman. In fact, one of my friends saw the flyer and he said, say hi to Adam. He's my mentor. And that's what I love about these people. They're not just coming to say something theoretical. They've been doing it one-on-one. They've been doing it in classes. And I'm proud to have Khidher Adam here. Adam, how are you?
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Sorry?
I'm great. How are you guys doing? Can you hear me well?
I can hear you. Just try it once more. I think there's some bit of interference.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I hope you can hear me loud and clear.
I can hear you. Or anyone else who can confirm if we can hear Adam?
Yep. Make sure you can hear me before I start.
Yes, we can hear him.
Okay, Adam, we can hear you. Please proceed. I believe you're clear. And I would like also to say something just before you go on, Adam. Some of the questions you've asked on the chat box, Waithaka will answer on the chat. So keep looking at the chat and continue making your queries on the chat. Go ahead, Adam.
Excellent. Thanks, Maxwell and Waithaka. That was a great session. I love the energy. I'm going to try and complement your energy. So that was excellent. Before I start, I'd just like to thank Centonomy for being here. And what I'd like to do is, my session is going to be very short. And what I'm going to try and do, as me and Maxwell spoke early on, is I'm going to give you a bit about my background, and then I'm going to go straight into a few questions that most of my clients or most of my mentees have asked. So a bit about me. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes, we can.
The screen. Can everybody see?
We can see it clearly.
Excellent. Okay. So as you can see from the screen, my background was to work for one of the for about 17 years. Then I decided to take the leap into and I started my restaurant business. I currently own a franchise for a restaurant business. And then I went to property, a real estate business. And then I do stuff which is consultancy and motivational speaking and mentoring coaching with my last company there, which is the PIA. So you can see just from my journey that I have a bit of both. I have corporate experience as well as a business experience. And today I'm going to spend more time talking to you about what I think are some of the key questions in terms of entrepreneurship. What are key questions on cash flow? Okay. I want to make this very interactive. I'm just going to go through 4 questions that I picked out based on my experience of the most common questions people ask. So before we start, let me ask a question. What's cash flow? How would you define cash flow in a business? And this is open for the chat. Would you, especially after Waithaka's session, how do you I want to see in the chat questions. Yeah.
Hello, Adam. Your line keeps breaking. I don't know if you have an alternative connection.
Yes, I do. Let me just move it to the other session. One second. Bear with me.
Fantastic.
I'll move it.
Absolutely. All right.
So Maxwell, as Adam does that, he's
yes.
I'm going to be trying and respond to the questions that were coming through on the chat box. I will do that both on all the platforms. I think we're on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. So those questions that had come, just look out for the answers as we go through that.
Okay, I have moved to a different connection. Just let me know if that is better. Okay, Maxwell, confirm if the connection is better now.
Just go ahead and then let's give it a few seconds. Yeah.
So my question to the audience is, what would you define as cash flow? We heard Waithaka speaking a bit about that. So how would you define cash flow now? Yeah. So you can see money coming into the business. Thanks, Alice. Money coming into the business is one part of cash flow, but what else? As you can see from the slide, cash flow is not only income, right? As you can see from the picture that I have there, everything that comes in, yes, money coming into the business, within the business and out of the business. Thank you, Rosemary. Fiona, you say cash in and out of the business. Correct. Abdurrahman, very interesting. Virtual movement of money. So it could be virtual. It's basically all the stuff that is coming in. The reason I put this slide up is most people just look at income and expenses and they think everything else is profit. but there's so many other things to it. There is the salaries, there's tax, all these things combined come as what we call cash flow. And that's really the point of this slide. So cash flow is everything that moves in and out of your business. Thank you. Okay. Why do you think cash flow is important? What could be some of the reasons why cash flow would be important? And this is a very interesting slide. If for those of you who can see it, 70% of businesses that fail are actually profitable when they close their doors. And this is extremely, those of you who are in Kenya, you can relate to this. When we saw the supermarket giant Nakumatt, when they closed, and recently Tuskys, as we all know, is struggling with financial issues. If you look at the P&L, if you look at the profit and loss statement of these companies, they were making profit. On paper, they were making profit. But what happened? When the creditors came in to take out the cash, these institutions collapsed. The same thing for Chase Bank. I don't know, for those of you who are in Kenya, you know, a few years ago, we had this big bank called Chase Bank, and they had some rumors going around, just rumors, that they're having some financial issues. And when everybody took out the cash, and suddenly you find that the bank collapsed, okay? So it's extremely important to understand that your business could be profitable, but if you're not having cash, then you can actually fail, okay? And that's the message on this slide. The other thing that I feel which is really important is most entrepreneurs get into business with an idea. They look at the income, they look at the expenses, but they don't plan the cash flow. And an interesting fact is companies that only do an yearly cash flow analysis, only 1/3 of those companies survive. And those who are doing it monthly, as you can see from the graph on the left, 80% of these companies have a better chance of surviving. So the real message here is that cash flow is one of the most important part of your business. Any questions so far before we move on? Okay, good. I get this question a lot, especially from my students that I mentor, those who are in campus or those who are still working early in the careers, and they say, how do I raise cash? And I think, Waithaka, you mentioned a great example about, you know, if you have a good idea that's validated, then people would want to invest. You know, you mentioned how money flows with the right concepts. As you can see from my chart, I believe one of the most basic ways you need to raise cash is starting to save early. And I cannot stress this enough. A lot of people get into business hoping that they'll get money from banks or investors. The reality is that there is so much competition for that money from the investor that he or she is going to make sure that he's getting a real bargain. So the best bet you have is start saving whatever it is. And there's a book that I read very recently known as The Richest Man in Babylon. I love this book because it's written in a story format. You can actually write it down, Richest Man in Babylon. And he talks about one concept about saving 10% of your income, whatever it is. So if you're living on $1,000 a month, you spend 10% on that and save it, okay? And this concept of raising cash through your own savings is an old methodology, but it works. And of course, once you have that small amount of cash, you can use it to generate the bigger investments that Waithaka was talking about, okay? Lastly, a lot of my students, a lot of the people I coach ask me, I have my money now, I've saved, but I don't have a lot of money. I have $500, I have $1,000. When and how much shall I invest? And this slide here, I think, is really powerful also because it tells you that most people, when you're an entrepreneur, you're so excited about your idea that you only see the light at the end of the tunnel. But you can speak to business people and you will find that most ideas don't really shoot from day one. There is a lot of time that takes for you to reiterate, to change it, to fix it before you actually start making money. So what is the learning from this slide? Number one, make sure that you plan the life cycle of your business in such a way that you have enough to continue when things get tough. So I'll give you my personal example. When I started my restaurant business, I had a mentor at that time, which I've mentioned in one of my previous talks, who was the owner of Java. Java is the Starbucks of Kenya, as Waithaka mentioned a little while ago. And he was the owner of, he was the founder of Java, Kevin Ashley. And one of the things he told me was I must make sure that I have enough to manage my personal finances for at least 12 months, okay? And this is just so that I don't start sucking in money from my business to pay my personal finances. The learning I got from that, and what I tell most of my clients when I'm coaching them, is when you have an idea, if you think it's going to break even in 3 months, you should budget for 6, number one. Number two is look at how I can validate this exercise, how I can validate this concept before I put my money. The question about when. There's a book by Eric Ries, I'll put it on the chat in a minute, which he calls the Lean Startup. And I like his concept because he says most people spend a lot of time on validating, but they're so excited about the idea that they put their money immediately. And he gave a great example through the story. He said they were trying to launch a medical equipment concept, and they went to China and they went to about 30 hospitals. They went to 30 hospitals and they spoke to the key surgeons there who are responsible for buying this machine and said, would you buy this machine, just based on the brochure and the explanation of the machine? They hadn't started making this machine yet. And interestingly enough, all 30 surgeons of these 30 different hospitals in China, they said they would buy it. So they went back and they were going to go into production. And then the author of the book said they decided to go back to validate it again one more time. So the first validation passed. All the 30 doctors signed, all the 30 doctors said, we will actually buy this machine. They went back to those same 30 doctors and said, okay, this is a form that I would like you to sign where you say you will commit to buying this machine once it's ready in 6 months. So the proof is in the pudding. You now need to commit that you're going to buy this machine. And guess what? Zero of those 30 surgeons was willing to sign that, because now they're going to have to put cash. Okay, it's really interesting. So they went back to the drawing board and said, hey, what is the reason why they're not willing to put money into the idea? So the message is, don't get so excited about your idea. Validate it before you can put in the money. So a simple example would be, if you're looking at starting a business and you have limited cash, spend a bit more money marketing it, create a website, create a landing page, and see how much traction you get for that idea before you actually put in a lot of your cash, okay? Lastly, and this is my last slide, these are the 3 questions that I thought would be most relevant, but I would like to know if there's any specific questions you feel that myself and Waithaka could answer right now. And I think there are already some questions on the chat. Yeah, thanks, Maxwell. That's the book, Lean Startup by Eric Ries, yes. Always validate your ideas before you put in your money. Yeah, so that's basically, just to recap what I talked about, is make sure that you have your idea well thought about, you save for it, and make sure you manage your cash from day one. You have a cash flow plan. Any questions before we continue?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's not be shy. Put in your questions on the chat, or you can lift up your hand. Then I can call you in to unmute yourself and go ahead. So, Adam, as we wait for this question,
yes,
let me ask one. Sometimes people believe that for you to be an entrepreneur, you have to be born as an entrepreneur. Is it something you are born with, or is it something we can all learn?
I think definitely you can learn it, eh? You know, and Centonomy is a great example of you know, proof. You can actually be. I used to work in corporate. I worked for 17 years in corporate. I'm an engineer by degree, so I didn't really have a specific business mindset. But over the years, as I worked and I was interested in business and I learned, and I think that's how most of us get into business. You know, there are very few of us who are born businessmen, I think. Yeah?
Fantastic. Patricia is asking, how long did it take you, Adam, for Snack Attack to break even?
Okay, Patricia, that's a great question. We were lucky for our first branch, which was on Gong Road. We actually started making money from month 2. Okay. Now, of course, there's a capital investment, which you depreciate over time, and that's something that Centonomy teach in the accounting class. But what we did is for Gong Road branch, we actually were very lucky. But I'll give you an example of a branch we opened on Koinange Street. And this is also one of the things that we learned. We opened a branch in Koinange Street, which was a very small branch that we thought would work based on our research, based on what we saw happening in other markets. And we opened a small takeaway unit on K Street. For those of you who don't know Koinange Street, it's actually one of the most popular streets, and it was very busy. The location was in a petrol station, so everything was going right as far as data was concerned. But we were very surprised. Within 6 months, we were not making enough. We didn't lose money, but we were not making enough money to justify that business. And we had to eventually close down that location in 9 months. And I took the decision because we started losing money, and I forecasted, again with cash flow, that if we continued to run this business the way it was, eventually we would start bleeding. So the answer is actually, depending on the location. So Gong Road was really profitable for us. Mombasa has been profitable for us, but we've had a location like Koinange Street where we had to close it in 9 months just to make sure that we don't lose more money.
Orion is asking, you've mentioned the Lean Startup. Would you recommend any other book that has helped you in your journey?
So just a disclaimer, I'm not a big reader, but I do like reading certain books. So I'm a slow reader, but I do read certain books. So it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for something to do with entrepreneurship, there's a book I'm reading now, which is called Profit First. Profit First. I can't remember the name of the author. It'll come to me in a minute.
I'll get it for you.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Maxwell. Yeah, so I like this book because it's changing the way we look at businesses. It's changing the way we look at entrepreneurship. Most of us look at our income minus expenses equals to profit. And in his book, he argues that you should look at profit first. So I'll give you a practical example. With COVID right now, we have restructured our business, and we're actually doing what he said. We're looking at how much money can we make in COVID right now, and what are the expenses that we can afford, which is different to what you would normally do, where you'd say, okay, this is the income, these are my expenses, and what I remain with is profit. So you actually work it backwards. You say, okay, this is the profit I want. Now, what is the expenses I can afford? And then you work accordingly. That's a good book. I also like Robin Sharma. For those of you who like motivational stories, those are also good books, yeah. I see some more questions, Maxwell. Maybe you can pick one.
Someone is asking, when you're saving, let me just say something that continues with what you're saying. After how long? You said about you closing your business, and this question is, after how long should you be concerned that you're not breaking even? And maybe I want to expand it a bit, Adam. Is it painful to close that business? How is it for you to close that business? So someone is asking, how long should you be concerned that you're not breaking even, that you can close?
Okay, so I think this is a very, very important question, and thank you for asking that. A lot of entrepreneurs get very emotionally attached to their idea. And this is something that I always coach my clients not to do. Don't get emotionally attached to your business, okay? It's very hard because you put in your idea, but I'll give you an example without mentioning a name. There was a friend of mine who opened a restaurant on a very good street, and his concept in his mind was going to take off. And he gave it 3 months, 6 months, he tried it, he tested it. I spoke to him, I told him, he was not from this country, he was from Turkey. I told him, I don't think this concept would work in Kenya. I had the experience of working at P&G, Procter & Gamble, which is an American company. And I realized that sometimes things that work in the US or in Canada or in Europe even will not work in Kenya. So I told him, your concept, in my opinion, doesn't work here. And I gave him the reasons. But he was so adamant on his idea. He ran it for 3 years. He lost a lot of money, and now he's out of business. Okay. So the short answer would be, do your math, know at what point, the light at the end of the tunnel is an illusion sometimes. It's a mirage. So you need to know, you need to work it out and say, hey, I can afford till this point. And then if it doesn't work at this point, so let me give you my personal example for K Street. We thought maybe it was our price point. We thought maybe we don't have a product for students. So we did all that. I gave it 3 months and I did everything I could. I launched products for $2. It didn't work. I came 1 month, I closed, and I'm so glad I closed because 6 months after me, every restaurant on that street closed, from Domino's to Pizza Hut.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I pulled out at the right time. I didn't lose money. I sold the unit to somebody else, but that's a longer discussion. Okay.
Thank you, Adam. I can see Waithaka ready.
Contribute. I wanted to say thank you so much for sharing that real example. And I think one of the major factors that you knew was how much capital you had at the start that you were able to use for that period of time. I think what many entrepreneurs don't have is that end game. Like you're saying, I'm willing to invest however much it is. It's $100,000, $50,000 that you have, and you say, if we get to this point, it doesn't quite, and it doesn't quite work, I know I need to get out at that point. So remember when I was speaking, about setting goals, often entrepreneurs don't have a goal. They don't have an end game. When do I know that that's going to happen? And it's a choice that you make. Why do I say it's a choice? Is because we've dealt with other entrepreneurs. We had him speak at one of our events, a gentleman called Peter Ndwati, who runs Resolution Health. And he was speaking about when he was starting out Resolution Health, which is a massive insurance company in East Africa. He was saying he made a miscalculation on the amount of time that it would require to be, as we're talking about, to break even, to get into the market, because one of his targets was market share. So he had a clear target. So in his miscalculation, his money ran out about a year, 6 months to a year before the point at which he was going to get out. And so he made a tough choice to reinvest. So he even talked about remortgaging his house. He took money out and everything because his target was still in sight and he could see it was just a miscalculation on the other end. So it really depends on the amount of capital that you're willing to invest. Thank you so much, Adam, for that wisdom.
No, totally agree. Yep.
And just to add to what Waithaka you're saying, I remember, Adam, you said, if I think it will take me 3 months to break even, I should plan for 6.
Yeah, it's just like construction. I mean, when you want to build a house, you always say, I have my timelines and I will do it. But then you start working with the fundis and you realize that things are not as green as they're supposed to be. So I always believe in, and that's my style. I'm always conservative. I always double whatever I think it will take, and I make sure I can manage that.
Right. Mary Kuria is asking, at what point do I identify that a business is no longer viable? But I believe you've answered that. Patricia is saying, just to point out that the food at Snack Attack is fantastic.
Thank you.
And I will say the same, Madam. Actually, my offices are on Koinange Street. Your food is fantastic, right? Someone is asking, did you research about the failure on the Koinange Street branch to know the causes?
Oh yeah, we did. Can I answer that one?
Absolutely, go ahead.
It was interesting. So going back to the book I mentioned, when I gave the example for the surgeons and the Chinese hospitals, right? Yes. We had the same issue. Everybody said K Street is good. Opening in a petrol station is what all the big brands were doing. We knew we had a good product, we had a good price point. What we didn't realize, and this is those small details, we realized afterwards is people in town are 2 types, or they have 2 spending habits. When they're looking to save money, they go to the low tier brands and they want to buy a product for $1 or $2. You can get fries in town for 70 bob. And when they have money, they want to go to a place where there's ambience. So they want to go to the big brands where they can sit and meet up, okay? And usually in town, people want to meet up with friends working in different places. So our model in town was a takeaway unit. And our price point was not like a $1 or $2 price point. It was the same price point you could go to a KFC or a Domino's or wherever. So we were missing that sweet spot. People who wanted to eat our food wanted to sit down and have the ambience, okay? And this was something that we didn't really understand till later. And maybe we could have done something different about it, but yeah, it was an afterthought.
Thank you, Adam. This question, I think I can push it to either of you, Adam or Waithaka. Francis Ogondo from YouTube had asked. Waithaka, I think that was when you're talking about the equity, when you're saying an entrepreneur has 3 ways they can eat their pie, and the third one was iniquity. So the question is, at what point do I now settle on selling equities to raise money for the business? So I think, at what point can I sell equities to raise more money for the business?
All right. So one of the fundamental issues around entrepreneurship, and I'm sure Adam will tell you this, is that there are general rules, but all those rules can be broken. And many times, if you get into entrepreneurship thinking that you're going to do it the same as somebody else, then you get yourself into trouble. So there are those who've raised capital at the start of a business by selling equity. They've not even begun. Immediately, because they have a good concept, remember, like the idea that we had of the 20-year-old, they have the patent, but they don't have the money to start. So at that initial point, they raise capital. Others build and do the proof of concept, like what Adam was talking about, over a period of time. And then they say, if there's capital injection, this concept can go to a much larger scale. So they sell equity at that point. Others build businesses to the point of maturity. And at that point is when they'll go to the public market and go to an IPO and sell equity at that point. So it depends on what the capital needs of the business are and what you as an entrepreneur are willing to do in order to get the achievement that you want. So again, I know it may seem like I'm going around in circles, but the fact is this, it really depends on where you are as an individual and what the business needs to achieve its goals. I don't know, Adam, if you have something to add to that.
No, I totally agree. I think it really depends on so many factors. And like you mentioned, Waithaka, generally, when you're looking to sell equity, you need to be clear on why. You know, does your business even need to scale up at that time? A lot of businesses sometimes are really profitable, they're doing really well, and then suddenly they start scaling up and they lose the plot. Okay, so you need to really look at the why, in my opinion. And if the why is not making sense yet, then don't get into it, because the more people you have, you know, they say too many cooks, eh? The more people you have in your business, you suddenly become an employee. I know of somebody who had a very nice restaurant chain, and he sold it to private equity, and he has regrets because he's now in a business that he's actually an employee again. Okay, because they put in money, they bought in equity, and now they're calling the shots. So I think the why is really important, as Waithaka, you said.
All right. Thank you very much, Adam and Waithaka. Let me throw this question to either of you. How do you calculate dividends that will be paid out at the end of the year?
Wow. Maybe you can give an idea, Adam, from your experience. How do you do that?
I think there's a very nice course in the entrepreneurship at Centonomy that talks about the whole legal and tax aspects.
Yes.
So you'd get more there. But you know, on a serious note, there are actually tax lawyers who are paid to answer those questions. Like dividends, you know, usually people pay a dividend or a salary. And depending on which one will make more sense for your business. So for example, in a restaurant business like ours, it's more efficient to pay a salary, okay? In my property business, it's more efficient to pay a dividend, but that's only because of the taxation laws of this country. So it will be unfair for me to tell you one is better than the other. You need to really understand the nature of the business, which country you're working on, and what the tax laws are.
So only to add to that, it also depends on the maturity of the business. That also plays a factor. Many businesses, and I'm sure Adam will talk about this as well, you don't want to pay out a dividend early on in the business because you're trying to reinvest quite a bit in order for the business to grow and continue to generate. If you're continuously removing profit as potential capital for the next year, potential savings that you could leave in that business that allow you to survive those tough months. So in your financial plan, and you talk about it, as you said, it's not just the tax lawyer, it's not just the accounting, it's the financial plan for that business, is when you decide which one especially when to pay out a dividend. I think when you're speaking about yourself as an entrepreneur, you have to be very clear where your money is coming from. Because dividend is not a monthly cash flow that's going to take care of you, to pay, as Adam was talking about, to pay your bills, take your children to school, to pay your rent, to do all those things that you need. So you have to really think as an entrepreneur, where is this money coming from? Because if your perspective is, I'm going to pay out a dividend comes once in a year. Essentially, you should look at your books throughout the year in order to pay it out. So if that's your cash flow, you have to be so clear, how will I survive for those months? And so as an entrepreneur, be clear about that. And it's so exciting, Adam, to hear that you do pay yourself a salary, because many times people look at your role. You're not the cook at Snack Attack. You can't be a cook in all your outlets that are there. You're not necessarily the one doing the recipes. You're not doing necessarily the HR work, but you are managing all these elements. And many times entrepreneurs think that as a manager, you're not directly involved in the value, and yet I think you would probably offer the most value to that business in the decisions that you're making. Could you comment on that?
Yeah. First thing, you reminded me when you talked about when you should take a dividend. I remember in my first mentorship session where I was a mentee with Kevin, he asked me a question: what's your end game? If your end game is you want to sell this brand to private equity after 5 years, for example, then he told me you need to show as much profit as you can. The concept of EBITDA that you probably understand, Waithaka.
Yeah.
So he told me, reduce your salary, reduce your operational costs, and show a high profit, because that's what's going to make the business valuable. If your end game is not that, then you can draw a bigger salary, depending on what I just mentioned earlier on. So I think, to your point, the end game is extremely important. The question you asked, Waithaka, what is the question you wanted me to comment on?
No, I was just, exactly, you've done it. You commented exactly what I wanted. Okay. And you're right. So we do deal with that idea of EBITDA, earnings before tax. Well, I forget. Before
amortization.
Tax, amortization. Yes. We talk about that in the accounting class, but also specifically in the class on raising capital, because in the raising capital class, we're talking about how does an investor think about your business? Exactly what you said. As an investor, what am I looking for? Remember, I'm looking for low risk and highest potential return. And as you said, if I can show that my business is extremely profitable, as an investor, they're like, yeah, you know what? It's running well. I'll put my money there. Thanks for that.
Thank you, Waithaka. Thank you, Adam. Adam, I'd like to ask a question. I know we cover it in this class on marketing, right? Yes. How did you market Snack Attack, or how do you do it?
So again, the book I'll refer to is it's an old book, The Richest Man in Babylon, and there's a concept he has there that when you want to learn to bake, you go to a bread baker. Okay, if you want to learn how to bake, you go to the baker. When I started my business, I was working in corporate in PNG, and I was a supply chain manager. I didn't even have a Facebook account at that time. Okay, I had zero idea on digital marketing, and I was quick to realize that I need some help. And this is one thing that I always coach my guys to. I look at examples like Bill Gates, who are people who are successful, but they also know where the strengths are. So in my case, I knew that I was a strong marketeer. I could communicate well, but I had zero idea on digital marketing. So I put a budget from my initial cash that I said I'm going to use for marketing. Okay. And I hired a very good agency. They did for me some social media marketing. In a very short time, I saw it paying off. Okay. And marketing is one of those things that, especially in food, you don't really see the payoff till later, because you need to constantly create awareness. Okay. So to answer the question, I actually hired an agency, but a low budget agency. It was a startup just like myself, some friends I knew who were doing it. So I didn't go to the big, the big companies that charge you an arm and a leg. I was paying the guy something very reasonable. I think in those days, it was less than $100 a month. He was a friend of mine. He did me a good job. So that's how I did it, initially.
Thank you, Adam.
Waithaka. Maxwell.
Yeah, go ahead.
I love the idea that especially around the start of a business, that Adam, you are really focusing on your network, so that many times you don't, as you said, don't go to necessarily the big boys. Maybe there's somebody within your network who can give you the same service at probably a cheaper price that allows you to begin to grow. That idea of leveraging on your network is extremely important at the start of a business. I thought it was really important to highlight that, because many times you're budgeting with, going to the massive brands that are out there, and it becomes difficult because you don't have the cash flows to pay for it at the beginning. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Waithaka. Adam, there's something you keep on saying, and like I told you, my friend called me and said, Adam is actually my mentor. Mentorship. I believe mentorship is key. I've had mentors myself. Waithaka, what can you comment on mentors? I want to run a business. Is mentorship important? What can I do about mentorship?
It's massive. In fact, the reason I took this job is because I wanted to be around someone who has run a business for years. And so I am actually under active mentorship with our founder and our chair, Waithaka Duarte, at this moment, because being in the same room and hearing how the thought process is around certain issues, being able to bounce off ideas. So in the entrepreneurship class, we talk about this principle that your mentor, because we often think of, when you start a business, you immediately have to get together a board of, of governors who are going to help you. They function like mentors. And that's a good idea. You can have an informal board. If there's somebody within your network who's running a business, just have lunch with them. Buy them lunch every so often. Offer them value. See what you can be able to do, because mentorship is a two-way street. You can't just be taking the whole way. But we're saying offer them, just go and sit for lunch one time and just say, these are kind of things that I'm dealing with right now. What do you expect? How do I deal with that? How would you deal with that? Simply spending time with somebody in that same in the same space will give you those ideas. So yes, mentorship is vital. And part of what we do in the entrepreneurship program is also to have sessions like this, where we call experienced entrepreneurs like Adam. This is mentorship, because he's telling you, hey, I did this, think about this. That's the process of mentorship.
Thank you, Waithaka. I call it experience from the firing squad. He's not talking about what he read. He's been in front of the firing squad. Thank you, Adam. Let me throw this question to the two of you. Someone is asking, now I think this is a serial entrepreneur. At what point can I start another business, right? So they're very confident what they are running is running well. They feel they have another idea. So at what point can I run another business?
You want me to take that?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I think, okay, for my own example, any business requires a bit of time and effort. And like when I decided to get into consulting and training, it was almost 5 years after I started my first business. But that was in my case. And the reason I did that after 5 years is because I felt now the business was running smoothly. I didn't need to put in as much time as I used to in the early days. So I had a system, I had a team, and the team is so important. The people you work with. So in my case, I took almost 4 to 5 years before I ventured into my second and third business. I think the answer should be, what is it that you want? Sometimes if one business is enough for you and you're happy with it, then why even start another one? That's my point of view.
I think I'd respond as slightly different from that, but I respect your response. This may sound like an odd metaphor, but think about businesses like children. When is it the right time to have a second child? Now, really think about it, the amount of time you would have to invest. You know what it takes as an entrepreneur to start a business, to get it running, to get those systems working. Adam, that's what you're talking about. And imagine trying to split yourself at that point when it's in the hardest time. You're managing cash flows, you're investing, you're doing into another one. So just like having children, I think if you've got a child who is weaned, they're able to walk around by themselves, they're eating, they're going to school, that makes it a lot easier to bring in a second child into the house, because now your focus can change. But if you have 3 toddlers in the same house who all need your attention, that can build quite a lot of frustration. So the concept I think that you're talking about, and I think I agree, is get your business to the point where it is essentially self-sustaining. It has the systems for growth. Then now you can start thinking, because starting a business requires a lot. And just like children, again, those of you who have older children, you know, at some point, sometimes you can let the older child begin to take care of the younger ones. You can leverage on the assets within some businesses that will help the younger ones grow. Because you already have a supply chain, you can use the same supply chain to help another business grow. Maybe you have good marketing, as you said, good marketing networks, you can use that same to help it grow. So think about it like that.
Agreed.
Thank you, Waithaka. Adam, you wanted to add something?
You know, when you mentioned mentorship, I just wanted to go back. The gentleman you're talking about when we spoke earlier on, I'd like to give his example of mentorship as well. He came to me and he told me, you know, I really want to get into the food business. And when I started giving him sessions, he asked me to come and work at my restaurant. And he was a senior guy. He had a very good job in corporate, and he was willing to do all the different roles. And I was really impressed with this young man. And you told me yesterday that he's doing pretty well, which is good to hear. So I think going back to mentorship, you also need to put in the time. So this gentleman was very serious about what he wanted. He told me, Adam, I want to learn 1, 2, 3. And I said, the best way is for you to get your hands dirty. He worked for me for 2 weeks. He took time off from work, and he did all the roles from cooking to cashier, you know, to the accounts himself. So mentorship, I think, as Waithaka also mentioned, is not just about having a chit chat. It needs to be structured. It needs to be really well thought of. What do I want out of this session? I just wanted to add that, Maxwell. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Adam. Waithaka, I have one for you. Is research important? I have this idea. I can see not even the light. I can see the floodlights at the end of the tunnel. Is research important, and why is research important for any entrepreneur who wants to venture out and run this great idea that can change the world?
Maxwell, if I was to go out on an adventure and try and climb Mount Kenya or Mount Kilimanjaro, and I'm at the foothill of this mountain, and I don't have a strategy or a plan of which direction I'm going to take, I can end up lost for the rest of my life. Research gives you the path through which you're going to make your discovery. You need to have thought, this is my goal where I need to get, and the research gives you the steps that you're going to take along that journey. Now, will all the steps be correct? Not necessarily, but it gives you the step. If you go into the bush without a guide, without some kind of plan, without a compass, you are going to be lost for the rest of your life. Research is vital for a business because it gives you that eyesight. That's what the example that Adam was talking about with those doctors trying to sell them this product. What it did was it showed them the truth of this journey. And without that truth, you could start and think you're going to do a great job and get lost up there.
I'd like to comment on that, Maxwell, if you allow me.
Go ahead, Adam. Go ahead.
I totally agree on research, and I think you need to do it. But I think one of the things that you need to do with that research is also be very flexible to adjust and tweak it. And the story of Java is very interesting. I don't know if many people know this, but Java is about 20 years old, or even more now, 21 years old brand. When they started the first branch, the idea was for them to go into exports of coffee. So that was the whole research that they had done, that Kenya is a great export market for coffee. We're going to create a roastery. They opened the first roastery at Adams Arcade. And the whole plan was we're going to pack coffee and ship it to the US. When they started roasting the coffee, all the missionaries around Kilimani would come in and buy coffee from them. And very slowly, Jack Wagner and Kevin Ashley realized that they were making more money selling coffee. Then they started adding pastries, and today they are who they are. And today, if you look at Java's brand, a very small proportion is actually the export business. And now after 20 years is when you're seeing the products in shelves, maybe 15 years, into the business. But the core business is hospitality. with more than 50 branches. So I think I agree with Waithaka 100%. Do your research, but don't be emotionally attached, like I said, to your business.
Yeah.
Be willing to tweak it. Be willing to ride the wave when you see it.
So in
Thank
the
you very
class,
much,
Maxwell, if you
Adam.
remember,
Yes.
in the class, we have this on structures where we talk about flexibility and rigidity. So in business, you have to be flexibly rigid or rigidly flexible.
Okay.
What does that mean? That when you have a strategy, you go with it with all your heart and with everything that you have in that business. But if you do recognize an opportunity, you can't just be rigid and stay with it. You see, that's a discipline issue, because if you see an opportunity, then you must be disciplined with that pivot. And I think when you talk about the Java example, they were disciplined with that pivot. They became excellent in the hospitality space. They didn't just keep it as a side idea. It now became the actual strategy of the business. Was a core.
Good point.
I hear you, gentlemen, and I really love what I'm hearing. And Adam, you remind me of one of the book I read called Built to Last. And in one of the things that comes out in that book by, I think, Jim Collins, is the fact that some organizations, corporate organizations we know today, did not start with what we have today. In fact, it's like 180 degrees turn. So I think the point you brought along, that it's good for me to be passionate, but not so emotional about my product, so that what Waithaka is saying can work, that I can be flexible, rigidly flexible. So that when that moment comes and this hand is withered, and there's gangrene, we need to cut out that part, that I can cut it out and be able to move and focus on something else that is giving us the money. Just like you said about Java, probably 20 years ago, they never saw themselves having 70 branches in Kenya. Yet today, the export business is a small pie in that big pie, and the coffee business is the main pie. So I think that's a very good point for the entrepreneurs, that we need to be rigidly flexible, and we don't have to be emotional about where we're going, so that we can make the right decision at the right moment. Gentlemen, because our time is much spent, I would like to, let me take one question someone is asking, and then I will allow you, Waithaka and Adam, to give your closing remarks. Someone is asking, which brings us to when is the right time to hand over the business to someone else, run it and take a backseat and just enjoy the profits. Adam, let me ask you, when you started the business, a business is like a baby. You're very passionate, and according to the e-myth, maybe we came up with this product, we are passionate about it. At what time do you allow other people to manage it, to call shots, to be the CEO, to be the CFO, or the person heading the marketing team?
I think it's a fantastic question. The truth is, you will never leave it 100% to anybody, because it's your business, it's your baby. You might spend an hour instead of a whole day in a branch. So when I had one branch, I would spend my full day there. When I had 5, I would spend less time in some of the branches, of course. But you work on different things. So when you have a team that you're working with, and your team is capable enough, then I don't need to make sure that all the products that are coming out of the kitchen are of a specific standard. But I still need to make sure that the processes are in place. So I'll work on different things. So I don't think you will detach completely. However, if you read, and I'm talking like I read a lot, maybe I do, I didn't realize it.
I think
if you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, maybe I do, I didn't realize it. If you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, he talks about businesses that can generate income for you without you having to do much. And we did that at Snack Attack. I started franchising 3 years ago. So I have some branches like Mombasa, for example, it's franchised. What that does for me, it still gives me an income without having to put in as much time as I would if it was my own branch, okay? So I think there are ways you can look at having passive income with business, but if your business is your core, I think you will still have some input, even when you get very big. Yeah, but franchising is a good example of earning profits without having to do a lot of the operational work.
Fantastic. So gentlemen, I really appreciate you giving us your time. I know for entrepreneurs, time is really important. And I'm glad that this morning, some of us who have this seed of entrepreneurship, we've just been watered and we are ready to germinate. I think that's a good launch off pad that we've had this morning. Someone is asking, Adam, if you're able to share, you can share the presentations after.
Sure, I can send it to you, Maxwell, and then you can forward it to the whole group.
Okay. All right. Then now our team will share it with others. Someone else is asking if they're able to get this presentation, and I believe it will be on our social media platforms, YouTube, on Instagram, I believe.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Yeah. So for those of you who've been here and maybe you had friends who wanted to come, or you felt that what we've shared is really important for someone who is either running a business or intends to run a business or has been dreaming about starting one, please share our social media pages so that they can get to see this, and not just this episode, because we've done something else on entrepreneurship and we have a lot on personal finance. And I want to believe, in fact, this can be part of your closing remark, Waithaka. I want to believe that if I cannot take care of my house, I cannot take care of the church or this other organization. and most challenges, I can't take care of my personal finances and I want to run a corporation. What are your remarks on that?
100%. I don't even need to add. If you can't manage your own money, you can't manage a business. I assure you, because you will steal from your business very soon.
Right.
Do you want me to finish up now?
Yeah, you can add some few remarks as we wind up.
No, first, let me just say a huge thank you to Adam. Thank you for your time and for your willingness to share so openly as you have. It makes a huge difference. I want to end with answering one question that we may have missed in the chat box here from Alice. Yes. Alice says, as a consultant, my business model is expertise for a fee. Therefore, my cash flow is limited to the service I provide my clients. How do I increase cash flow when time is limited without taking on additional salary expenses from or hiring staff? That's an amazing question. And it's one of the things we try and address. But here are some of the things. So it is increasing. So having another revenue stream, Alice, is a great way to do it. So if you're a consultant, that means that you're being paid for your time. But if you take some of your knowledge and put it on paper into a book, then you're able to increase your revenue by having another revenue source. So you have it on a book. So it's to look at it and say, can I do a book? Can I do a teaching? Even like Adam is talking about, that mentorship program is actually another revenue source. Now I'm using my skill set to do something different. However, Alice, let's just be clear and honest about this. We also have to be realistic. So you may increase your prices. That's another way to increase revenue, is to increase price. But at what point do you become too expensive for the market? I honestly believe that bringing on other consultants gives you the opportunity to do more. Like the Centonomy story is exactly that. That Washeken was the first consultant at Centonomy, helping one person at a time to manage their finances. Then after realizing that I can deal with 10 people at the same time with the same issues in a class, I trained them. And then she realized that, hey, if I train Maxwell, if I train Waithaka, they can do exactly the same thing that I'm doing. Now we're running classes across the board. So it's about looking at where is the opportunity in the market, Alice. Guys, entrepreneurship is a skill. You have to learn the skill in order to find that success. And it's a process that you go through. Obviously, you've heard what Adam has talked about, read, mentorship. The program that we have designed here is to get you to that point. It's giving you that expertise in an orderly fashion. So as you start, as you continue to build, and as you grow your business, you have the information that is there. Spend the time, the investment, so that you don't make the mistakes along the way. Thank you so much, Maxwell. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Waithaka. But I believe you usually say a good speaker has to finish 3 or 4 times. So I'll give you one final remark. And Adam, I'll come back to you and on this. Now that my business is growing, I like that your business is scaling. How do we scale? How do we go about scaling? Should one think about scaling? I would like you to think on that. Just as I discussed one thing, I would like to thank every person who's logged in today. I would like to thank every person who's our ambassador out there, because you know Centonomy works. They're not bringing theories. They are bringing people who've been at the front line of the firing squad, and they give us practical reasons, and especially things that will not always only work in Kenya or in Africa. but I do believe across the globe. So one of the things I would like to do is to invite all of us for this entrepreneurship class. And like we said, it has 14 sessions. Allow me to share this screen in a bit, right? So, okay, so this is what we will be learning through. Maybe you can take a screenshot, you know, the entrepreneurship mindset. And I told you from the very beginning that one of the things I like about Centonomy courses is that the first thing they work on is on your mindset, because it doesn't matter how much knowledge you have, okay? If I'm running a business today and Adam can give me 20 million, if my mindset is not ready to expand my business from a shillionaire to a millionaire, then that money will still be lost. And that's one of the key things I love about Centonomy programs. They work on the mindset first as we bring in the other principles. And as you can see, we've got the accounting lessons, the legal issues, which probably are a challenge to young entrepreneurs, because I'm thinking, oh my God, Waithaka, I can't afford a lawyer. I know Adam can afford a hoard of lawyers. I can't even afford consult. But in this class, we get to discuss, you get to be enlightened on the legal issues so that you can also manage your risk, because business is all about managing risks, right? So these are some of the things we'll be learning. And like I told you, we have Christmas Come Early offer with the Lipa Pole payment plan, where you get to pay 10,000 in November, 10,000 in December, January 8,000. And by the time we get to January, you're paying school fees. You have no problem that how am I going to pay this amount, because you've already committed 28,000 and you can join the class in February. Okay, so and ensure you lock down your seat by paying the 10%, and again, by paying the registration fee, and again, this fee is discounted. So I told you it's a Christmas Come Early deal. All right, you can reach us. You can go to our centonomy.com, or to register or call, you can see Ruby's number on this slide, right? You can write her number and I will put it on the chat page, same as her email, so that you can reach us and you can share with your friends, family, and even foes. Maybe your foes today will be your friends tomorrow. And I like what some of our communities do. They rise together. They rise together. So we empower Maxwell. Maxwell is empowered by Adam. Maxwell empowers his brother, so that tomorrow we become a community of investors who Waithaka was talking about, will pump in that 50 million to the next big idea. So kindly consider joining us in this coming class. And for those of you who are saying things have been thick, right? The COVID situation has brought us to our economic lowest moment. But I'd like to say, it is in moment of darkness that the decisions we make will cause us to rise. And I think Adam and Waithaka will agree with me. This is actually the best time to register for this class, because I'm sure we are facing many challenges. We are now arguing with our suppliers because we've had our payments delayed. We have issues. We are wondering whether we should close business because we are afraid. So I think this is the best time to enroll in this class, right? So I come back to you, Adam, on scaling, right? So I've grown my business. I have this running small business in Nairobi. I think I can go to Burundi. I can go to Uganda. I can go to Rwanda. Tell us about your remarks, your comments on scaling.
So thanks for the opportunity again. I remember when I was still early in my career I was in employment, and I got an offer from a competitor for the company I was working for, and they're willing to pay me twice my salary. And my boss told me something, and the first boss has a lot of impact on people. The first manager or first boss you had has a lot of impact on employees. And he told me something, that before you start running, you must be able to walk. And he told me, you've only worked with us for a year. These guys want you just because you have a database. I was in an IT business at that time. And I believed him, I trusted my boss. And within 3 years, I got promoted, etc. The learning is for businesses, you don't want to start scaling when you still have a lot of basic fundamental issues. Don't grow your business just because you're excited. You need to make sure the structure is there. I know of some businesses that have opened up so fast, and now they are struggling to keep moving, because the bigger the animal, the harder it is to tame. Remember that. So our own example, we've always remained a small, nimble entity. We've been able to weather the storm. Even now with COVID, we're very quick. You know, we made a few adjustments. We're moving more into online delivery, et cetera, and we're still okay. But bigger businesses are struggling because they have such high operational expenses. So my advice is, before you scale, make sure that you can walk before you run. Yeah, that would be the general tool.
Okay. Thank you very much, Adam. Thank you so much for those gems of wisdom. I'm sure most of us have been enlightened, but I'd still like to say that this is it's not even a tip of the iceberg. It's 0.8% of the iceberg. And I'm sure most of us will probably change. You keep saying you're not a reader, but I keep hearing you quoting books. So I know you're a reader. They say they say all great entrepreneurs are actually readers. And they say good leaders are readers. So for us to be leaders, we want to read. Wow. You know, when you've got too many L's and R's, can be a challenge. All right. So Waithaka, please give us your closing remarks.
I think I'll repeat what I said at the very beginning. I mentioned it. You cannot play the game of rugby with the rules of soccer. You will be destroyed. So the same thing with getting into entrepreneurship. You cannot start a business with the mindset of an employee. So you have to begin to think about the rules of business. And if you understand them, then you can be able to be a success. So it doesn't mean that every business that you're going to start will be successful, but you will land on one that will get you the wealth that you're looking for. So see you in class Feb 2021.
Fantastic. So ladies and gentlemen, you've had the invite from our CEO. See you in class on the 21st of February. I've put down on the chat page the number and the email and the WhatsApp contact for Ruby. Please feel free to reach out to her. But most important, what I would like to request all of us who are here, kindly take advantage of the registration discount and make sure you pay your money, your registration amount today to book your slot in the next class. Thank you very much. Though we've come to the end of this session, but kindly continue logging on because we've got a few things we'd like to share with you for around 15 more minutes, all right? So let me take this opportunity to thank our speakers today, Waithaka Gatumia, CEO, Centonomy, and Khidher Adam, CEO of Snack Attack. We really value and treasure those gems that you've shared with us. We are going to put them into practice and see what we can get. For all of us who are out there, kindly remember to keep in touch with us and follow us on our social media pages just to see what is coming up next and many programs that we have. I know there is a lot. If you've never joined us on Facebook or Instagram, there's a lot that we have there, and you can browse or scroll through and see what else you can add to your bank of knowledge and your bank of wisdom. Thank you very much. Over to our team.
Maxwell, just before you hand over to your guys, I just wanted something that came to me.
Absolutely.
You know, when you talked about your special package, I just worked it out. It's almost like the cost of a coffee a day.
Whoa.
If you look at the 8,000 to 9,000 bob, if you're having a coffee a day,
yes,
and you give that up, you know, learning is something that I really, really believe all of us, we need to invest in learning, whether it is through books or whether it is through courses of Centonomy. So I'm personally requesting my guys here, you know, take this opportunity to learn. Somebody asked me for my social media handle. My advice is I'll share that through Centonomy, but I hope to be part of this team next year as well. So you'll be hearing a lot more from me through Centonomy, but my advice is sign up now. You know, you're excited, you're energized right now. This is the time for you to make that commitment. So take advantage of the special offer. One coffee a day is not something that you can't afford. So give up that coffee and get some knowledge instead.
Thank you so much, Adam. I don't even want to add anything to that. That means if I sacrifice my cup of coffee every day, I will get to be able to get this knowledge and this wisdom and this structure and principles that I need to establish my business. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Adam, let me ask you, can we follow you on social media pages, Facebook or Instagram?
Sure. I'm actually building. So right now my LinkedIn is the most active. But I've started a few videos that I'll be launching in a week's time. So maybe through Centonomy, I'll share my details. But you can follow me on LinkedIn for now and Facebook as well. I'll put in the details on the chat very soon.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much, Adam. Thank you so much.
Wote acha nitumie ya kwetu chamge itugul. So, my name is Kagai John. I go by the name KJ. Anytime you're in Eldoret, hata usiulize location ya salon, just go to your phone, andika tu haircut in Eldoret, itakuonyesha location, Google Map, tumesha pin. So that is KJ. Actually, I'm very proud to be here. And I'm really humbled to be given this opportunity. I'm a stylist. Na mnajua leo ni siku gani, si ndio? Leo ni siku gani? Yeah, stylist. Today is the day we celebrate making money. But I'll start from there. Centonomy has taught me one thing, which I'm enjoying today. I'll call it freedom. Because I'm here. My team is making money. I'm one of the biggest producers in our business. My name. Client akikuja I can come to Nairobi and not worry. And which kind of freedom are we talking about? The first one is financial. So you'll ask me, where does it come from? Where do you get financial freedom? Actually, after my second class, I used to come by bus. Napanda basi. The first day I came, nilikuja. Kwanza I came before. Sikuwa nataka kuja nipotee. So mara ya kwanza nikakuja na my wife, nikamwambia wacha tuende tu Nairobi, tushukie hapo West, tutafute hiyo Victoria Court iko wapi. Ndio siku yenyewe nitakuja nisianze kuchanganyikiwa nichelewe darasa. So we came, tukaangalia Victoria Court, tukaingia hapo, tukaona furniture kidogo. So yes, and then we went on with our business. So nikajua location. So the first day I came, nilikuja na easy coach, nikashukia hapa. I left Eldoret at 9:45. Nikafika hapa 3:45. I was tired, of course. But I wanted to know, hii Centonomy ni nini? So, tukaendelea the first day. The second time, nikakuja na basi. I was so exhausted because I'd left the salon late. So I thought, that was the time we were doing big opportunity. So I thought, big opportunity. Where? Nikaanza kufikiria. So what came in my mind is this. I have a team. I've employed 17 guys who work under me. So, 17 guys. What is it that they are not doing? I want these 17 people to pay a ticket for me to Nairobi, which is 4,500 shillings only. Where does it go to? Transferring value. Transfer of value. How? In a salon, if KJ alone can apply gel, so I can only make 500 within 30 minutes. So how do we do it? I have 4 guys who always sit there. Senye KJ anafanya gel, wako tu wanaangalia. So nitakuja Nairobi aje? We kuja. Nini ujui about gel? Ka hapa. What is it that you don't understand about gel? Let's go through it. I have textbooks. Tusome. Within the first week, my ticket was paid. How did I come to the airport? One of my staff asked me, uliendaje Nairobi? Nilimwambia tu nilichukua taxi nikaenda airport. So all along from my 3rd class, I've been flying to Nairobi. It's been convenient for me. So I'm getting the freedom I'm talking about, the financial freedom. But there's a cost to pay. For financial freedom, there's a cost to pay. One thing you have to do that is very important, structure. Structure your business. Kama saa hii tuseme for example, wanataka kununua shampoo. Watanitumia check na no thrift. Sasa ndio ni sign ndio nirudishe jioni walipe. Structure. Within my team, I never used to know within my team, there are guys who are better than me. I used to think I'm the best. But after we talked about structure in the Centonomy class, that is where my opportunity was lying. I have someone in my business, anaitwa Derek. He's a young guy, he's around 20. Huyu jamaa anakuanga tu kwa Instagram. But he's a good guy. You know what I did? Alikuwa na page moja. Iko na 5,000 followers. Then I'm just thinking about big opportunity within my business. So I tell Derek, mazee wanajua hizi vitu za Instagram. Niuzie hii page yako. Utaniuzia aje? Akaniambia pesa kidogo 1,500. Sawa, nipe to change content. It is one of our pages inaitwa Cages, Nails and Makeup. Alituzia hiyo page. He's the one who runs that page. Followers wana flock hivi. The other day I was actually telling some of my friends here, there's actually the guys who own big salons in Eldoret wanaitwa Jones. So there's one guy who is one of my competitors and my mentors, anaitwa Mwangi. So I thought I want to reach out to Mwangi's clients. What do? I sat down with a guy called Derek in my team and a lady called Ann. Nikauliza tufanyaje ndio wateja wa Mwangi wajue KJ iko Eldoret. So these guys told me, by the way, wewe unaitwa John Kagai, huyu anaitwa John Mwangi, na ule mwingine anaitwa John CTNA. So we write a story about the Johns. So what we did, and this one is real, my friend. It was on Thursday. We wrote a story about the Johns. So the John Mwangi, who is my mentor and has many followers than me, posted KJ Salon on his page because I wrote a story about him. Strategy. But I never used to know my team. That is where my strength is. My team. Mazee KJ ni mpua na finances. Hata nikipewa ni manage nitashindwa. Someone I'm always with, my wife Jessica. Finance nampea tao asubuhi. Jioni yako na 7. That means she's better than me. Personal finances. Nikamwambia Jesse, fanya hivi. Hizi accounts za job chukua. Manage. Open even new accounts. Wachana na ile nimekuwa nikirun solo. You just do it. Rent is paid by the 25th. Hakuna deni ya supplier. When I was running it, kulikuwa mpaka na deni ya supplier. Kwa sababu na postponed. There's only one thing I showed Jess. Sikujua ita I think wacha nitumie tu. Let me just use here. Nilimuonyesha tu kitu na sikujua ita make sense. I learned it in class. It's called the Eindhoven's box. Do you remember that thing? Where you draw a box and then this is urgent, not urgent, and this is important. You know what happened? Because we discussed jioni nikitoka wakati nilifika home asubuhi because naenda na basi jioni. So nafikanga at around 4. So we discussed with her. Nikamwambia kuna hii box nimejua leo, Eindhoven's box. Akaniambia in the morning, because we normally have a diary at work of the things you're supposed to do that particular day. Do you know what happened? Walichukua hiyo diary wakagawa into 4. And that is the format. Wanaandikanga hapa vitu urgent and important. Zenye si important wanaikanga huku chini. It's become a standard. The strength within my team. But how did I come to know? I had to pay the cost. Come all the way to Centonomy. So if you want freedom, because I'm wondering, John nitatumiwa report na niko hapa. Na ni good report yenye watu wamefanya kazi. The strength within your team, you can't know it if you don't have the information. Believe you me, mazee Centonomy kwangu, hata I was asking Ruby the other day namuuliza, sasa Centonomy imeisha alafu. You guys need to add for me like 3 classes mazee. It's been too short. The content is perfect. My accountant did reports the other day ya kuanzia January to March. Before he never used to understand. So ananiletea naangalia, I can really relate. I know where my business is going because now I can understand how figures work. So for you to get your freedom, you have to transfer the value. Another thing you have to know, BMC, Business Model Canvas. Jua wateja wako. Jua wateja wako. Business Model Canvas, really, ilinisaidia kabisa. Kuna ule mteja anakujanga tu kwa salon. Kuna mademu wengi hapa wanajua. Wanataka tu kusumbua na wanataka service ya bei kali. Jua ako kwa segment gani? Jua tu, it's important when you know, because when you don't know mtasumbuana. Wewe mpe jina, of course asijue, lakini unajua wewe ni ule sumbua. So you know what to give to them. You know what you expect from them. So that you don't force someone to buy services they can't afford.
Usually
Just
don't
give
like
what they want.
Oh, I
Because
remember
mimi, what I decided is, of course I've won 2 hair awards. Mimi sitafanya blow dry na 200. Siwezi. I cannot. Hata kama nakupenda. Hata my own mom siwezi mfanyia blow dry ya 200. My own mom, my own sister, siwezi. Because I know my value. If you want a blow dry for 30 minutes, I lead the process. I'll charge you between 800 to 1,000. It's in Eldoret. It's in Eldoret. But I'm giving you quality. I'm giving you something, an award-winning, multi-award-winning stylist making your hair. So, yes, that's my value. So, when you do your BMC, you know your value. You know what key activities you'll do. So, hatukuji kusumbuana ati unataka nikufanyia blow dry na 200. Of course, kuna mse yako hapo, kuna Patrick, kuna Jane, kuna so and so. They can attend to you. I can lead the process so that I make sure you get a good service. But that is not my work. Actually, something I was surprised. If I come to Nairobi on Wednesday and go back on Thursday, and I don't work on Sunday, so how many days am I working in a week? Logically, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday I fly to Nairobi, because I'll fly in the morning. So, and then I go back during the night by bus, nifike Eldoret at 3. So that means, nitaingia kazi, kama ni kuingia nitaingia kazi, Thursday afternoon ama nikose kuingia. So let's say on Wednesday and Thursday I don't work. So I work Monday, Tuesday, Friday and Saturday. Surprisingly, when you're a businessman na umejua kujipanga, I'm still the highest producer kwa salon. And I work from 9 to 5. Appointments zangu nimefunga. But I still get that value. Because you are able to, there's what we were taught in class, inaitwa design thinking. Design thinking. What is design thinking? When you manufacture our biro, unakuja tu una manufacture biro unapea watu. Is it the biro they want? It's not the biro they want. Talk to your clients, communicate with your clients. Get exactly to know what your clients want, so that you're giving them exactly what they want. So when you give your clients what they want, you're not frustrated. Unapata pesa. There's one service I introduced in Eldoret. I thought itanipea pesa. If today you type Sister Locks in Eldoret, because of course huwezi tafuta KJ Salon kwa sababu hujui. So if you look for Sister Locks in Eldoret, KJ inaapia hata kuliko salon zenye ziko Eldoret. Kama ni hairdresser na huko kuliko za Nairobi. Inaapia ya kwanza kuliko hata salon zenye ziko Nairobi. So watu wa Nairobi pull up socks nakuja huko. Devi nakuja. So what I'm saying is this. I introduced that service because I saw it as a big opportunity. The first time client alikuja because I charged 45,000. I don't have any other service that is that costly. 45 Gs. 1, 2, 3, 4 mpaka 45 tao. So, nika introduce Sister Locks. Client wa kwanza akakuja kwangu akaniangalia, unafanya Sister Locks, where are your tools? Unajua tu wale wateja wa kutaka kuku undermine. Wanaziangalia, hizi sasa unatumianga aje? Watu wa Nairobi wanafanyanga, huko ni LD. So wanajuanga watu wa Nairobi ni masuperstar. So hairdresser wenye mko hapa maze, mtakaniwa hata kama wewe si pro na huko Nairobi na huko na salon, watu Eldoret wanajua watu wa Nairobi ni mapro because it's the capital city. So clients wakakuja kadhaa wakiniuliza historia Sister Locks, but now I know what to give them because I've undergone training, so hatuna issues. I know my target market. So the first day, client akakuja nikamwambia ni 45 Gs. Na nikamwambia, by the way, you have to book an appointment. And booking means commitment fee. So you have to pay half the amount upfront. And then you book a day in advance. And make sure you call me in the morning. Make sure you call me in the morning to confirm the appointment that you are coming. So the client confirmed the appointment, akakuja. I took like 9 to 10 hours kumaliza hiyo kwa sababu it's kind of pretty so much work. When the client alikuwa anakuja kulipa hiyo cash, mazeli nilidak kwa salon nikateremka kidogo kwa coffee shop because our salon is on the first floor. Nikateremka kwa coffee shop kwa sababu nilikuwa nasema mazee hapa nakileta kesi anaweza kusema hii sio value ya hiyo kitu yenye you know, it got me thinking. So nikaenda kunywa coffee and then my receptionist called me back akaniambia, KJ, kuna client mwingine amekuja. Kama ule mwingine amelipa. Amelipa yote. I was like, Santi Mungu. Because it's an opportunity in my business that I never used to do what? To see. And you can never see that kind of opportunity if you do not have the training required. Training is important. Training is very important. So my business model canvas. Nilikuwa nafikiria tu saluni pale mahali unakuja tu na hakuna pesa, hakuna. So for a hairdresser like me to come from Eldoret and come all the way to Nairobi and have the freedom because I came on Thursday, I'm not worried. I'm not worried about bills. I'm not worried about anything because I know my team will deliver. I trust in my team. So if you're here, when I did my cost structure, one thing that was striking out when I was doing cost structure, when you're doing your BMC, see there's that corner hapo chini penye kuna cost structure. The corner that is here, hapa chini, where cost structure is. When you're running a business like a salon, where does most of your cost go? No. Where does your cost go to? Exactly what she's been talking about. Employees, because they take 43%, if not 50. Because kuna salons zenye zinalipanga watu 50. So where does your cost go? To your employees. So let's say you're doing dreadlocks. Na huyu afanye dreadlocks na ni employee wako. Na anapata pesa mingi sana kutoka kwa hiyo salon. What kind of business are you doing? Is it value for your money? You do not have a return on investment? Because that is where most of your money does what? Goes. So because your money goes to the team, it is very, I don't know which word to use, extremely, as in, it is of urgency for you to train your team. Because hapa, imagine, if you're making 1 million, 430 is going where? It is not the only cost in your business. You still have other costs. Is it right? You still have other costs. So if you have done your maths correctly as a business person, labda utakuwa unabaki na 10% ama 15% of your annual turnover, si ndio? Sasa nani anakula pesa mingi hata kuliko faida yako? Your employees. So sijui hata nitasema aje. If you cannot train your employees, then you're not in business, because this is where your money goes. Make sure these guys are performing. The same way Bob Collymore works. There's a lady who came and talked to us when we were just about to start this course. Anafanya Safaricom. Alikuwa anatuambia, Bob Collymore actually looks for smarter guys than him. Why? Because he wants what? That word there. Freedom. Amesha kupea JD, amekupea job description. Hataki kushinda mkisumbuana mnapeleka huku na ukule. Anajua chenye amekupea kazi na anajua utadeliver. So ana wasiwasi. If he has guys who are not smarter than him, watashinda wakimsumbua kila saa. Oh, Bob this, Bob that, Bob this, Bob that. But he has smart guys. So they work and they don't leave work for him. Yeni kuangalia tu figure salaries venye zinaingia, 6 figures tu zinaingia. So as an entrepreneur, as I close, this word got me thinking. Freedom. Mimi singetoka kazi saa toa ati nitoke LD kuja hapa na line ya wateja na ningoja huko. But today I can come to Nairobi and live comfortably from Thursday to Sunday. Na sina wasiwasi na sipigiwi simu. So means things are going on. Asanteni sana.